3, 2, 1. Wait.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside of Lucas Oil Stadium for the Big Ten Championship game between the Michigan Wolverines and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Alongside me, Adam Bressler and Zach Linfield will just join us shortly. I'm Amer Bektas. The Wolverines are coming off an emotional 42-27 victory over Ohio State last weekend in Ann Arbor, punching their ticket to Indianapolis. The Hawkeyes making their second trip to Indy for this showdown tonight between the Michigan Wolverines and the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, emotional is the key word there from last week. Jim Harbaugh, after 8 years of coaching, has yet to beat Ohio State. Finally got that monkey off of his back. Beat him first time since 2011, and that was key for the Wolverines to come in and do that. But it's not over. They still have at least 2, if not 3 more games ahead of them. So the Wolverines can't get complacent because this is a really special team.
Both teams are out at the 50-yard line right now for the coin toss. The Michigan Wolverines wearing their away white uniforms with blue pants. Iowa Hawkeyes going with the black tops and the yellow bottoms. Let's send it down to the referee for the coin toss.
Captains, welcome to tonight's game. Congratulations on making it to the Big Ten Championship game. Michigan, you're the visiting team. You'll call the flip. The helmets are heads. That's a tail. What is your call?
Tail.
He calls tails. I'll let it land on the ground. Tails is the call. It's heads. Iowa, you win the toss. You want to defer to the second half. Iowa wins the toss, defers to the second half. You want to receive?
Okay.
Yes. Okay, where would you like to kick from?
Kick that one.
So swing around if you would. Michigan, swing over here, please. To start the game, Michigan will receive.
So there you have it. Michigan is going to get the first shot in this game, losing the coin toss as Iowa deferred to the second half.
Let's send it down to our buddy Zach Linfield for a report from the field.
I'll tell you what, Amir, Adam, the Wolverines had a great week of practice. The defense really stepped it up during this past week. But obviously, the main key in the game for Iowa is their defense is very strong, and they forced a lot of turnovers. Michigan's only thrown 5 picks on the year and fumbled just a couple of times. And that's going to be the key for Cade McNamara on the offense, is they can't necessarily lean on the run game like they did a week ago, almost rushed for 300 yards, just 3 yards shy of that tally. Cade McNamara has to make smart decisions in order to beat the Hawkeyes here today, because we all know Iowa is no pushover. The Wolverines took the last meeting with the Hawkeyes at 10-3 back in Ann Arbor in 2019. But I'm sure revenge is still on the mind for the Wolverines. The last game that really mattered against Iowa back in 2016. One of the Wolverines' 2 losses in the regular season, where Keith Duncan hit a field goal to win it late for the Hawkeyes.
So there you have it. Michigan is huddling up. Game will start momentarily. For those just joining us, Michigan will receive the kickoff. A.J. Henning is expected to receive. He's been the kick and punt returner for most of the season. And he has a kickoff return recently in the penultimate game of the regular season. He got a kick return late in the second half that really cracked the game wide open. Kind of on a trick play. We see Michigan like to do the trick plays.
So the Wolverines will be going from right to left, wearing their away white uniforms with their blue pants. The Iowa Hawkeyes will be going from left to right, wearing black tops, yellow bottoms, We are just moments away from kickoff before Caleb Shudak sends it deep to A.J. Henning.
And this crowd is filled up. Supposedly, this is the second largest crowd in attendance in this stadium ever.
And here we go. We are underway. It's a short kick by Shudak, and it goes into the end zone. A.J. Henning lets it sail over. The Wolverines will start out on their own 25, first and 10.
Yeah, Michigan needs to make a statement here. Last game, they were able to do that. Got an early touchdown, went up 7-0 to begin. Iowa might not be as feared as Ohio State, but the same game plan should apply.
Wolverines healthy up front, going with Hayes, Keegan, Vastardis, Zinter, and Stubert, and Cade McNamara is the quarterback. Hassan Haskins to his left. Cade in the shotgun. Roman Wilson in motion. Cade drops back in the pocket, throws it out to Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson's got space. He's out before he gets knocked out around the 25-yard line for about a 6-yard gain.
Interesting to see Michigan begin with the pass. Last week was so run-heavy. Wondering if they're intentionally trying to mix things up to maybe catch Iowa's defense off guard, especially with that less than stellar defensive line.
So it's a 7-yard gain for Roman Wilson. It's going to be 2nd down and 3 for the Wolverines. McNamara hands it off to Haskins. Haskins gets a few yards before he runs into a bunch of Hawkeyes. Looks like he got maybe a yard on that one.
That is going to be a 3rd and short. That's where Michigan really ate last week.
So it's going to be a 3rd down and 3 for the Wolverines. Ball. Wolverines doing some substitutions right now. It's a decent 50-50% proportion for fans right now. Where the Wolverines are in the right end zone is where it is predominantly Iowa Hawkeye fans. But here we go, 3rd down and 3, 14 minutes left in the quarter. McNamara is in the gun, hands it off to, looks like Mike Sanderstill, and he's not going to get the 1st down. Gets stopped just short of the line of the game.
Going to be a 3-and-out to open this game from Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines.
Riley Moss on the tackle right there, bringing down Mike Sanderstill. And Riley Moss is one of those guys that we're going to mention quite a few times in this game, a key piece for this Iowa defense.
With this, Michigan will punt for the first time. Notably, punter Robbins did not even see the field in the second half of last week's game.
So punt is up and away, and we got a fair catch at the 25-yard line. So the Iowa Hawkeyes 1st and 10 at their own 25 to start their first possession. Not the greatest start for the Wolverines, going 3-and-out, but you see this defense coming out there. You got number 97, Aiden Hutchinson, number 55, David Ojabo, and Iowa Hawkeyes, their line really struggles to protect their quarterback, and at quarterback, we got Spencer Petras. You know, he's got 9 touchdowns this season, 6 interceptions, but he won the job last weekend, getting his team to Indianapolis.
For most of that game, it was looking like Iowa would finally lose to Nebraska, but they were able to hang on and come back at the end with some special team trickery.
So Petras hands it off to Goodson. Goodson gets about 2 yards before he's swallowed up by a few Wolverines. Tyler Goodson, the junior, 5'10", 199 from Swanee, Georgia. You know, that's their workhorse. He's their Hassan Haskins on the Iowa side of the ball.
Michigan's fan and band student section is out in force. Might not be as large as the Big House, but they're making themselves heard tonight.
So Petras is going to go with the empty backfield. He got 2 wide receivers to his left, 2 on his right. Petras with the ball, looks to his left. He's got a man open. It's his tight end who spins, and he's got space, and he's going to get the 1st down before he gets taken down at the 40-yard line. Pass was complete to number 84, Sam Laporta.
Iowa is known for their tight ends, not just this season, but over the past decade.
Hawkeyes going with the hurry-up offense, hand it off to Goodson, and Goodson gets tripped up. He's going to get about 3 yards on that one.
So far, this seems almost like an opposite of how Michigan played last week. Michigan got an early touchdown on their first drive, moving down the field, and then forced a 3-and-out on their first time on defense.
So it's going to be 2nd down and 7 to go for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Goodson is the back. Petrus drops back, hands it off to Goodson. Goodson to the left, stutter step, gets out to about the 44-yard line. It's going to be 3rd down for Iowa. You know, we saw right there with the Hawkeyes, you know, a lot of Michigan's defense has really struggled with that up-tempo offense. Hawkeyes trying to get an early up-tempo, get the Wolverines defense on their heels.
Iowa has a 3rd and 7 here. Michigan was quite strong on 3rd down last week and all this season as well.
So Petrus goes in the shotgun. Goodson is the back to his left. Petrus with the ball, drops back in the pocket, looks to his right. He's going to throw it deep. He's got a man, and it's going to be sailed over his defender, but there is a flag. Pass was intended for Keegan Johnson.
And those fans don't like that. Deep flag around the 20-yard line, likely to be a defensive pass interference. But
Pass interference, defense, number 30. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic 1st down.
so there you have it from the referee. Defensive pass interference, and Iowa gets a huge gain off of that one.
Dax Hill, the guilty party on that one. Pass was intended for Johnson, but I felt like it wasn't a catchable ball. The referees felt differently. Iowa gets a fresh set of downs, moving the ball up into Michigan territory for the first time in this game. So Petrus is the quarterback, hands it off to Goodson. Goodson bounces out to the left. He's going to get maybe about 2 yards on that one. You know, Goodson for the Iowa Hawkeyes, he has 6 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry. So just really good back for Iowa.
Iowa is getting the ball moving early, and they exploited Michigan's secondary, who has been a weak spot of this defense. Although Dax Hill, a first-team All-Big Ten, was the one called on that defensive pass interference.
2nd down and 8, 10 seconds to go on the clock. Here we go. Petrus rolls out to his right. He's got a tight end open. He got more space. He gets out to the 20 before he gets into the red zone, taken out. It's Laporta again for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
And Iowa enters the red zone for the first time today, and they seem to have the momentum too. Michigan can't seem to get much stops so far this game.
Brad Hawkins on the tackle right there to keep Laporta out of the end zone. Sam Laporta already making his presence known. He's their favorite tight end for Petrus to go there. But Iowa now in the red zone, fresh set of downs, ball on the 17. He pitches it out to Goodson. It's a fake, it's a flea flicker, and he's got an open man in the end zone, but sails it over. Wolverines dodging a huge bullet on that one.
Had some space in the end zone, just the pass was too high, and Michigan gets a lucky break on that.
Wide open man in the end zone for the Hawkeyes, but not the best throw from Goodson. It's going to be 2nd down and 10 for the Hawkeyes. You're going to have 2 wide receivers to the left, nobody up to the right. Petrus in the shotgun, handoff to Goodson. Goodson goes right up the middle. He's going to get about 5 yards on that one before he gets taken down at the 12-yard line.
So far, notable quiet players have been Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo, but they're bound to break through one of these times. On each play, they seem to be getting pressure, but Iowa's play style is almost in counteraction to that. They're doing these quick passes, these runs up the gut to maybe get it out of the pocket before Hutchinson could collapse on the QB.
Hawkeyes are 76% in the red zone, 12th in the Big Ten. Here we go, 3rd down, handoff to Goodson. Goodson out to the right. He's going to be taken down right there. There you go, number 55, David Ojabo. He's going to force the 4th down, get the Michigan defense off to the sidelines, and it looks like Iowa's going to attempt the field goal on this one.
It would be foolish not to. With that, it was a loss of close to 4 yards. So it'll be 4th and 8.
So Caleb Shudak out to attempt the field goal for the Hawkeyes. It's going to be a 32-yard attempt. It's up, and it is no good. Sails to the right. Michigan gets off the field. No points scored on that drive. A huge bullet dodged for the Wolverines. That's
a lucky, lucky break for the Wolverines. Notably, this stadium is indoors, and it is the only, not a single regular season Big Ten game is indoors. So conventional wisdom would say the kickers would be even stronger or even more accurate, but
yeah,
I guess not on that one. Maybe the nerves of this big, big audience took a toll.
Whole entire season, he's 7 from 7 from the about 30 to 39-yard attempts. That's his first miss of the season, and it just sails right. Michigan will take over on downs.
And it wasn't even that far of a kick. It was a 32-yarder. And as I said, it was an indoor stadium, so no wind or snow as we saw last week to play on that one. Just an unforced error, I suppose, that might cost Iowa later in this game. We're going to hand it on over to Zach Linfield during this media timeout. Tonight's game is on Fox, so that will be a lot of media timeouts. They love to do long ones. We have another 2 minutes. So Zach, what are you liking so far, and what are you seeing on the field?
Well, for the Wolverines, it's obviously hard to like anything that's happened on the offensive side of the ball so far, right? I like the creativity from Josh Gaddis, using that reverse to Sainer still, using that pick route that they had, Johnson with a wonderful block on the right end, where Roman Wilson was able to go around the block. But like I said in the pregame, Adam, this is a defensive football team that the Wolverines are playing against. And like Amir said just a moment ago, they dodged a big-time bullet by Shudak, who was wonderful last week against Nebraska, missing that field goal. So for the defense, I like that they're getting Iowa into third down. That's a big goal for the Wolverines today, because the Iowa offense is the part where the Wolverines can really take advantage of the Hawkeyes. But we saw Iowa's still a talented offensive team. It's not all defense in Iowa City. The Iowa Hawkeyes are also very good on defense.
And you mentioned the third down is key for this Michigan defense. Daxton Hill made an error on third down that gave a new set life to the drive for the Hawkeyes and a new set of downs with that defensive pass interference. It was a deep throw on the right side, so it moved the chains quite a bit. But that third down stand where they tackled for a loss was crucial and set up that blocked field goal, or missed field goal rather.
Thank you, Zach Linfield, for the report from down low. So we're back, and the Wolverines will take over on their own 20-yard line, and Iowa Hawkeyes showing their creativity on that first drive. Michigan, second attempt here now. They went 3 and out the first time. So they're going to start at their own 20, just waiting from the green light from the referees down low as we come back from the media timeout. So Wolverines starting at their own 20. McNamara receives the ball, hands it off to Haskins. Haskins up the middle before he gets taken down, really. First contact was at about the 2-yard gain, and then he ends up chugging his way to get 6 yards on that one.
We've seen that all season from Haskins. He takes hits and he keeps on chugging. Sometimes he even breaks it cleanly and keeps on going for 10, 15, 20-yard gain. Right there, the mound was able to contain him, but he still got 5 bonus yards.
Yeah, Haskins is averaging about 5 yards per carry, but Haskins heads to the bench as Blake Corum comes into the game, and we got J.J. McCarthy in at quarterback. McCarthy with the ball, but we have a flag on the play.
And that is interesting. Going to be a false start on the offense. Second down replay, so negates much of the gains that Michigan got and Haskins got from that push on the first down play.
So it's going to be a 5-yard penalty on the Wolverines, setting them back to second down and 9. Now McCarthy is a quarterback. Haskins is back in. McCarthy empty backfield. He drops back, going to dump it just to Corum. Corum gets taken down, gets a few yards, so gets back to the original line before the penalty. It's going to be 3rd down for the Wolverines.
Interesting to see that Coach Harbaugh put in J.J. McCarthy with Corum. We saw that similar package last week where Harbaugh might be intentionally trying to keep those two youngsters together because that will be the core in the future for the Wolverines.
You mentioned youngsters. Here's Donovan Edwards in at back. It's going to be 3rd down and 3 for the Wolverines. 12 seconds on the shot clock. McNamara drops him back. He's got Edwards, and Edwards has got a 1st down for the Wolverines all the way out to the 33-yard line.
First time moving the chains today, and it seems like Michigan's offense found its spark back after that abysmal first drive.
How about Donovan Edwards? Ever since that Maryland game, just a breakout game for him, getting more and more reps for this Wolverine offense. But here's J.J. McCarthy back in at quarterback. Corum is the back right behind him. Handoff is to Corum. Corum up the middle, and he's got a speed right there. Corum's got more space. Corum's got Greenfield. He's at the 30, the 25. Corum's not going to be taken out, and it's a Michigan touchdown. Blake Corum.
Thunder and lightning right there. He showed why he's the lightning. Found a gap and kept on running. Some blocking provided by Michigan, but it wasn't even necessary. He outpaced any receiver any defensive back on the Hawkeyes.
Blake Corum all the way into the end zone for the Wolverines. And how about J.J. McCarthy getting up the field right there, blocking for the lightning back of the Wolverines.
That's what you love to see, and Michigan finally finds its spark, took a big play from Blake Corum, showing why Michigan really values its ground game.
67-yard touchdown for Blake Corum, tying his season-long 67 yards, and Jake Moody out to attempt the extra point. It's up, and it is through the uprights. Jake Moody giving the Michigan Wolverines a 7-0 lead over the Iowa Hawkeyes. That scoring drive took 4 plays, 1:57 off the clock, 80 yards to the house, and then it's capped off by a Jake Moody field goal.
Not field goal, but extra point. Speaking of Jake Moody, he did get selected this past week for the Bakken-Anderson Kicker of the Year in the Big Ten, as well as first team honors as selected by the coaches. Surprisingly, the media put him at 3rd team, so a little bit of a discrepancy, but regardless, he has had a phenomenal season. He is in the running too for the National Kicker of the Year award for the NCAA. One of the 3 finalists, first finalist Michigan has had since 1993 for Kicker of the Year.
Yeah, Blake Corum, 67 yards to the house. Really struggling with injuries towards the end of the season. And, you know, we saw it last weekend against Ohio State where you felt like he was still had a little injury nagging, but right there looked healthy as can be. And then you have his quarterback. You know, that's huge. When you have your quarterback running up with you and blocking, it just shows you how much support this team has for each other.
I know it might be cliche, but that is not something you would see Cade McNamara do, is run down the field and be able to provide blocking support. Not like he wouldn't want to, but he just doesn't have the speed that JJ has. And it's really interesting, both plays that we have seen Corum this game has had JJ at quarterback. Seems like they have a good tandem together. One of the few guys on Michigan's roster who can match Corum's open field speed.
The Wolverines first drive, 3 and out. Second drive, 80 yards to the house. And the defense got off the field. They're really dodging that bullet to keep the Iowa Hawkeyes out of the end zone. But let's get some scores around the league as today is Championship Saturday. Zach, what happened around the college football landscape?
Yeah, College Saturday, Championship Saturday, and Championship Friday as well. The Utah Utes took it to Oregon last night by a final score of 38-10. The Utes also knocked off the Ducks a couple weeks ago, 38-7. So Utah dominating Oregon, almost guaranteeing themselves a spot in the Rose Bowl game on January 1st. Otherwise, Baylor knocked off Oklahoma State after 4 plays inside the 5-yard line, and a last play that I'm sure you'll see on SportsCenter tomorrow morning. where Baylor's outside linebacker was barely able to run down the Oklahoma State running back to keep him out of the end zone. Utah State wins the Mountain West Championship game over 19th-ranked San Diego State 46-13. Alabama knocks off number 1 Georgia to give the Dogs their first loss of the season, 41-24. And Cincinnati finishes their undefeated season 35-20, maybe a spot in the playoff on the line.
Plenty of chaos happening around the college football landscape. Last game of the night, Michigan Wolverines, they control their own destiny. The number 2 team in the country. Win and you're in. Moody is out to kick it away. We're going to have Charlie Jones and Max Cooper deep to receive for the Hawkeyes. The kick is up, and it is a good one. It's going to be right at the end zone, the goal line right there. We got a fair catch, so Iowa will start on their own 25, and it'll be a first down and 10 for the Hawkeyes.
Even though this isn't quite in the big house, you could hear the atmosphere from the student section chanting and cheering like they were in Ann Arbor, humming the Seven Nation Army theme.
You got to pump it up.
You got to pump it up. We have not heard that yet this game, but I would bet my life savings that we will be hearing it later.
That song lives in our head rent-free after last weekend.
Absolutely. And when Zach was on, he mentioned some playoff implications. I'm curious because many people did not expect Bama to go and take down and give Georgia the first loss of the season. What implications does this have for the Wolverines and their own playoff chances?
For the Wolverines, it's win and you're in. You're the number 2 team country. You're the number 2 team in the country. So take care of business tonight. Win a conference title, and the Wolverines should be in. But, you know, chaos has happened. Now do we get 2 teams in the college football playoff? Oklahoma State losing. They're basically done. Cincinnati taking care of business soundly. Do the Bearcats stay in? And, you know, the way the committee wants to set up who plays who where, do they want Georgia to play Alabama again? I don't see the scenario where Michigan jumps into number 1 unless they just run Iowa out of the Lucas Oil Stadium tonight.
Yeah, that's a great point because Michigan was number 2 going into this weekend, but Bama just took down the number 1, and it was at number 3 itself. So it's not much of a stretch to expect the Crimson Tide to leapfrog Michigan and go up to that number 1 spot. Georgia only has 1 loss, and that's to Alabama, so they will likely stay in the top 4 and secure a spot. But you're right, you look at that matchups, would they really want a rematch of Bama-Georgia in the first round of this playoffs? That's a good question. I think a lot depends on whether Michigan could take care of business today. And not only that, but the manner in which they beat Iowa, assuming they are able to do so, will certainly play a role on whether they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed.
Plenty of scenarios to play out, but we still got plenty of football here. We're in the first quarter, 6:38 left. Your Michigan Wolverines up 7-0 over the Iowa Hawkeyes. The green light has been almost given by the Fox Media crew down there. You know, we talk about the Iowa quarterback, Spencer Petras, the junior at San Rafael, California. He's got 6 interceptions. Can the Wolverines force turnovers? We're about to find out. 1st and 10 from the 25. Petras drops back, looks to his left. He's going to go deep to a man. He's got a wide receiver, but it's going to sail over Nico Ragaini.
And that's the 2nd time we have seen an overthrow from Petras. This was on the left side, however, but Michigan is able to get pressure on him quickly, forcing maybe a less than accurate pass.
So 2nd down and 10 for the Hawkeyes. 2 wide receivers to the left of Petras. Goodson is the back to the right. Handoff is to Goodson. Goodson to the right. He gets taken down at about the 23-yard line by 3 or 4 Wolverines right there. Looks like it was Hutchinson and Josh Ross on the tackle.
Zach mentioned how this is a 3rd down defense. Going to be a 3rd and 4 or so. So we'll see, rather 3rd and 6. That was an awfully generous spot for the Wolverines. And this is where Michigan needs to make a statement. They got a quick touchdown earlier. If they could force a 3 and out, get it back.
13 seconds left on the play clock. Plenty of noise coming from the Michigan side of the end zone. Here we go. Petrus receives the ball. He's going to look to his right. Blitz comes right there, and it just sails over top. The Michigan defensive tackles getting to the quarterback right there, forcing Petrus to not make a good play. Michigan defense gets off the field.
Yeah, Petrus has not been having a good day. 2 for 4 for 36 yards. So 50% completion rating, but the incompletions were awfully, awfully far. It wasn't the receiver's fault. It sailed 10 feet over the head. Punt crew is on the field for the Hawkeyes.
Punt is up and it's away. You got A.J. Henning deep to receive. He's going to receive it at his own 19. He's going to bring it out. He's got a hole, and he gets out to the 25-yard line. So first down and 10 for the Wolverines at their own 25 to start.
Speaking of Hennings, he has gotten recognition for his success on special teams. He was selected as a third team all Big Ten for the return specialist. So not going unnoticed, and you got to imagine that return versus Maryland played into that selection. He often has done both kickoff and punts for Michigan, finally finding his first trip to the end zone in either of those capacities against Maryland. Came on a trick play where it was almost a pooch kick, and then it was a lateral back, and Henning had nothing but open field right down the sideline and was able to add to Michigan's lead. If you ask me, that probably was what locked the game.
So we're in a media timeout here. Michigan leads 7-0 over Iowa. 5:37 left to play in the first quarter. So first drive, 3 and out. Second drive, 80-yard touchdown. What do we expect to see on this one, Bressler?
Ideally for Michigan, they could get another, they're going to begin on the 25, so a 75-yard touchdown drive is what would be ideal. However, I think Michigan just needs to keep going on the ground and keep Iowa's defense moving, keep the offense going forward. Healthy mix between Haskins and Corum. Don't rely too much on anyone. Heck, even bring Edwards in to throw off the defense a little bit. Michigan is a ground team, so you have to embrace that.
Yeah, the Iowa Hawkeyes allowing about just under 106 yards per game, and right there you see Blake Corum get 80 yards in the first quarter. You know, the Wolverines are pretty dominant on the ground.
Oh, yeah, that is an understatement. The two of the best rushers in the Big Ten have been on Michigan between Corum and Haskins. Haskins with 5 touchdowns last week. Corum has not been able to rack up as many, mainly due to an injury that sidelined him for a couple weeks. But Corum will be coming back to Michigan bearing like a transfer, which is not expected whatsoever. Very excited to see what he could do, especially with J.J. McCarthy under center. We've already seen what they could do together this game, as McCarthy has put his own health on the line, running down the sideline and serving as a blocker. And now we got the team lining up out of the timeout. This will be Michigan's third drive as they take possession, leading 7-0 against Iowa.
They mentioned 7-0 lead for the Wolverines. Here's their third drive of the game, starting at their own 25-yard line. 2 wide receivers to the right of McNamara, 1 to the left. McNamara with the ball, drops back. He's going to throw it behind to A.J. Henning. A.J. Henning's going to throw it deep, and he's got a wide open man. It's Roman Wilson, and he's got a bunch of green space. 10-5, touchdown, Michigan.
I was talking earlier how Michigan would like a touchdown on that drive, and I said 75 yards. Didn't think it would all come in one play, but Jim Harbaugh is pulling from his bag of tricks. We have seen plenty of flea flickers, but never really a double pass from a non-quarterback. That is something new for Iowa to munch on. And Michigan keeps accelerating. This has been all of them since that second possession.
Correction, it was Donovan Edwards, the back. You know, Cade McNamara throws it behind to Donovan Edwards, and Donovan Edwards throws it deep to a wide open A.J. Henning. A.J. Henning, a bunch of green space for a Michigan touchdown. Jake Moody out to attempt the extra point. Kick is up, and it is good, and up through the uprights. Michigan up 14-0, 5:27 left in the first quarter.
Those 14 points came on 2 drives. We've seen Michigan be a very slow, methodical team this season. Not today. These came on electric plays. Both the run from Corum and that double pass trickery. But Michigan goes into this media timeout up by 2 possessions.
That play, one play, 10 seconds off, 75-yard touchdown pass for Donovan Edwards.
And this student section is bopping and loud. You got the band getting the Michigan side of the stadium loud.
You got to pump it up, baby.
You have to pump it up. And I'm curious what the breakdown is between Michigan and Iowa fans. Normally it would be kind of easy to guesstimate, but both teams' colors are yellow, so you can't really tell just by looking. But audibly, it sounds like Michigan has a little bit bigger of a contingency here.
Charlie Jones back to receive for the Hawkeyes. Jake Moody sends it away, and it's a fantastic kick. It's going to go over the head of Jones for a touchback. Jake Moody's done that all season long, does not let the opponents bring it out of the end zone as the Michigan special teams go to the sideline, and they have the Michigan student section right there getting them hyped up.
Absolutely. 5:27 left in this first quarter, and we talked about what Michigan might need to do if they want this #1 seed. They are doing it so far, assuming they could hold Iowa to very few yards on offense. They could keep the gas going on for Michigan's own offense. That'll be enough potentially.
So first down and 10 from the Iowa 25. Petrus fakes the handoff, rolls out to his right. He's got a tight end open, but he gets it across right there, and it's going to be Laporta with the catch before he gets taken out at about the 47-yard line. Sam Laporta.
Iowa is called tight end U for a reason. Laporta, he has all 3 of Michigan or of Iowa's receiving yards so far. All receptions so far, rather.
So fresh set of downs for the Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes going with the up-tempo. Handoff is to Goodson. He gets about 2 yards on that one. Tyler Goodson, the junior, back for the Hawkeyes.
Now Michigan's defense needs to prove it can step up. It gave up a big play on that first play of the possession. Michigan needs to find some rhythm now, lock them down, and prevent any points.
So Iowa now at half field right there, right on that Big Ten Championship logo. Petrus in the shotgun. Goodson is the back to his left, drops back. He's got pressure right there. Dax gets it, but he gets it away, and Petrus just sails it about 15 yards over the intended receiver. Dax Tail getting to the quarterback right there.
Petrus just cannot throw deep today. That is the 4th ball that went over 10 yards beyond the intended receiver. Just can't seem to find any connection on the deep ball. Doing great on these short slants, especially to the tight ends, but just can't thread it.
If the Hawkeyes don't get this, is this 4-down territory?
No, it's first quarter.
I don't know. There's a lot of momentum with the Wolverines right now. But here we go. 3rd down and 7 for the Hawkeyes. Ball at the 50. Petrus in the shotgun, drops back, looks to his left. Pressure comes, gets it away. It's going to be right there. Gets the first down. Sam Laporta, the junior tight end, coming up huge to get a fresh set of downs for the Hawkeyes.
And this is where Iowa thrives. I don't know why they're trying to push these deep passes when these slants for 10, 15 yards to the tight ends are working really well.
Yeah, the tight ends, Sam Laporta has been targeted coming into this game 40 times, averaging about 12 yards per catch for 2 touchdowns. But here we go, fresh set of downs for the Hawkeyes. Ball on the 40, handoff is to Goodson gets about 2 yards on that one before he gets a little bit of an extra push to get a first down, or a couple of extra yards.
So far, quiet has been Aiden Hutchinson. He has 2 total tackles, but none of them are solo, none were for losses, and no sacks either. Michigan has yet to rack up a single sack today. That's been Iowa's offensive strategy. Get it out quick.
The Hawkeyes have allowed 30 sacks coming into this game. And, you know, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo going for that record sacks in Michigan history. But here we go, second down, empty backfield for Petras. Petras drops back, good pocket. He's going to go deep. He's got a wide open man, and it's caught, and it's into the 10-yard line before he gets taken down by Brad Hawkins.
Now it was Jones for Iowa, and now moving the chains once again. Second trip into the red zone for Iowa. They were unable to get any points the first time, looking to remedy that now and maybe take back some of the momentum that the Wolverines have seized so far in this game.
Charlie Jones, the wide receiver right there, getting them into the 10-yard line, so it's going to be first and goal for the Hawkeyes. Got 2 wide receivers to the right, 1 to the left of Petras. Petras goes, hands it off to Goodson. Goodson up the middle, gets taken down by Nakai Hill-Green.
Green has been a key part of this Michigan defense, showing why he is necessary on that last play, preventing what could have maybe been a touchdown if he had slipped by.
Last time the Hawkeyes were knocking on the doorsteps of the end zone, the Wolverines were able to dodge a bullet by a missed field goal, but this time they're inside the 10-yard line. It's going to be second and goal, ball on the 7. 1 receiver to the left, 1 to the right, a tight end right there. Here we go, hand off to Goodson. Goodson up to about the 5-yard line. It's going to be 3rd down and 5 for the Hawkeyes. Now is this 4-down territory?
I don't know, because you need the points. You're only down by 2 possessions. In the first quarter, 2:05 remaining. I don't see why you would risk giving Michigan the ball back without any points to show for it.
But here we go, 3rd down and 5. Third down and goal, ball on the 5-yard line. Petras in the shotgun, 1 wide receiver to the left, 1 to the right. Goodson is the back. Petras drops back. He's going to go to the end zone to the right, and it's going to be sailed over top. No flags. It's going to be 4th down. Now an early decision for Kurt Ferentz to decide. It's
still a 5-yard play. You got to bring out the kicking crew.
There you go. He's going to send out the kicking crew.
It would be one thing if it were 4th and inches or 4th and goal on like the half-inch line, but this is 5 yards, and Michigan's defense is strongest on these short down attempts.
We already saw the creativity to go on in that trickery play. Do they attempt it here? But it's going to be a 22-yard attempt for Caleb Shudak. Kick is up, and it is good for Shudak, giving the Hawkeyes 3 points on the board. Michigan leads 14-3, 1:26 left in the first quarter.
Michigan's defense is playing well on the runs, playing well on the deep passes, but what's really killing them is the slants, especially to the tight ends. So far, that has been all of the passing from the Hawkeyes, and Michigan is just unable to shut that down even when they have tight man coverage. Iowa is able to get some space, and Petras is able to thread the needle. He can't seem to find the deep players, but he could hit those slants pretty well.
Yeah, Petras struggling with throwing the ball deep, just sailing it over his attended wide receivers. But Michigan also doing great defense. Dax Till, the lone penalty for pass interference, extending the Hawkeyes' drive earlier on.
Now Michigan will get the ball back with 1:26 in the first quarter, so a lot of offense so far, including 2 electric plays, both a run from Corum and a double pass trickery.
So here we go. Caleb Shudak sends it deep. AJ Henning is the deep man. He lets it sail over into the end zone. Wolverines will start out on their own 25 with 1st and 10.
And this is an interesting moment for the Wolverines. They had the momentum in the 2 most recent drives. Are they able to contain that? And I'm curious to see what Harbaugh does. Does he continue these high-risk, high-reward, deep passing, big play threats? Does he return to Michigan's more conservative chip-away offense that we saw a lot, especially against like Penn State?
So 126 left. Michigan up 14-3 over Iowa. Here's McNamara. Got a trick play. Hands it off to Henning. Henning's got space. He's got a gap. He gets more. And Henning is across midfield before he gets taken out inside Iowa territory. Michigan, they're doing whatever they want right now to Iowa.
You know it. Finally, an Iowa player was able to come up and catch, but still a huge gain for the Wolverines.
Merriweather on the tackle right there, bringing down A.J. Henning. So it's going to be a fresh set of downs for the Wolverines in Iowa territory. Now, J.J. McCarthy in at quarterback for the Wolverines.
And who else but Blake Corum in the backfield? We've seen that all game.
Corum in the backfield, hands it off to Corum. Or no, run play option right there. McCarthy's going to keep it before he gets about 2 yards on that one. Michigan bringing out their bag of tricks.
That play option was so successful it even fooled you, Amir.
Fooled us up here from the left end zone. But you got Cade McNamara back in at quarterback, Haskins in as well. Ball on the Iowa 43, 2nd down and 7, 30 seconds left in the first quarter. 2 wide receivers to the right of McNamara. McNamara drops back in the pocket. He's going to look deep. Plenty of time to do what he wants. He's going to throw it across the middle, and it's going to be picked off. It's going to be picked off right there, intended for Eric All. Iowa forcing a turnover on that play.
It wasn't much Iowa's fault. All was unable to reel it in, tipped it up in the air right into the hands of Jack Campbell for the Hawkeyes. He almost got gifted it. I know it's a giving season with
An
the
early
6th
Christmas
night
gift.
of Hanukkah tonight, and then Christmas coming up in 20 days. But the Hawkeyes are back in this, down only by 11.
That is Campbell's 2nd pick. His previous pick was a pick 6, but an early gift right there. Eric All just could not come down with the ball. So 17 seconds left in the quarter. Petras drops back in the pocket. He's going to look deep. He's going to go deep. He's got a man, but sails it over once again. We've mentioned that, and we mentioned it again. Petras just sends it over his intended receivers.
I feel like a broken record. Every time he tries a slant, it's a successful, finds Michigan's defense sleeping. Every time he tries a deep pass down the sideline, it's an overthrow. I'm curious why he doesn't rely more on these slants. I know the big play potential is huge, especially when some of these receivers are getting space, but he can't seem to connect.
Yeah, they've been successful on the ground for the most part, but here we go. Petras drops back. He's going to hand it off, and they're going to get a couple of yards on that one. That should send us to the end of the first quarter, where
Iowa has the possession on the 35 at the conclusion of the first. That was a 2-yard gain to Bruce, and that'll bring the teams to the sideline for the first time, first intermission. Already a pretty electric game. We've had a missed field goal, we've had 2 long touchdowns, and then we've had an interception.
what a crazy half, that last possession, or crazy quarter. Just that last play right there where Michigan had the ball, the interception, the ball intended for Eric All, kind of felt a little bit deflating. Now can the Hawkeyes build on that? Let's see what the feeling is down on the field with Zach Linfield.
Well, this is pretty similar to the interception that Cade McNamara had last week, but it's kind of been the same story with Cade all season long. When he's missing on the underneath routes, he's not missing well in front of his receivers. He's not missing over the head of his receivers. He's missing behind. And when you have some trailers on the back hip, that's what's going to provide those interceptions in a negative way for the Wolverines, because Eric All got a mitten on that football. However, it just kind of rolled back off of his right hand and fell into the lap of Campbell, and that's the lucky break. That's why Iowa has the most interceptions of any team in the country since 2017, and they lead the country in interceptions this year as well. So they feed off of picks, and the Wolverines just have to be careful to not turn the ball over and make sure they keep the ball in their possession in order to win this game, because right now you could look at the score, it could be 21-3, it could be 17-3, and the Wolverines are in that much better of a position moving forward.
Thank you, Zach, for that update from down the field. Now, we mentioned it on our drive coming up here with What does Michigan need to do to be successful here? They have to limit the turnovers. They had a really solid first quarter right there, ending with 2 touchdowns. But just that last play right there, you know, it wasn't a bad throw, other than it was just a little bit behind. And Eric All, when he spinned off, just Campbell was there in the right time, right place, right time.
We've seen this season, McNamara has been very risk-averse in passing, for better or for worse. But one of the upsides to that is very few interceptions. That one right there, I am reluctant to place the blame on him. I think it's more on all. However, Michigan is, regardless, turned it over. And you never want to turn it over, especially after some big plays and they were driving and they were potentially in Moody's field goal range.
Yeah, all the momentum was in Michigan's favor. I mean, especially that second touchdown, Donovan Edwards throwing it to a wide open Roman Wilson, and then Roman Wilson taking it to the house. But nonetheless, Michigan's still up 14-3. It's going to be a 3rd down and 8 when we come back for the second quarter. But, you know, with all the chaos that happened, and, you know, that's going to be, what does Michigan need to do to leapfrog into that #1 seed going into the college football playoff? You need a solid beatdown of Iowa.
I don't even know if that's the right perspective. Michigan has never made the college football playoff. They've never made the Big Ten championship prior to today. Focus at one game at a time. Win this, you'll almost guarantee a spot. That's all Michigan really needs. If it's a 2 seed and you play Georgia, so be it. Coach Saban showed a playbook and a game plan that could potentially take him down. So I have full faith in Jim Harbaugh to craft something up. Just focus on Iowa now. Get into that college football playoff and keep this season alive.
Coach Saban, you know, last weekend it looked like with Auburn, it's like, is Alabama legit this year? But Coach Saban, once it comes playoff time, once all the marbles are on the table, he brings his best game plan out there.
Oh, you definitely know that. This is a crucial 3rd down, too, for Michigan's defense.
So here we go, 3rd down and 8 for Iowa. Petrus in the shotgun. 3 wide receivers to the left. Petrus drops back, pressure comes. He cannot get it across, and then the ball is hit the ground. All the pressure comes right there, but we're going to have a flag on the play.
And that almost seems like a late hit. He hit the arm of Petrus. I wonder if it's a rushing the passer that it might be. And we see a little bit of a conference here between the refs, so I wonder if they might even pick it up. Celebration for maybe on that play, but we'll have to see what the call is eventually. And it is on the defense.
Automatic 1st down.
It's going to be
number 91's first unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of the game.
On Upshaw, an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, giving a lucky break on 3rd down. And yeah, that's it. I'm watching the replay.
I don't like that call one bit. You know, you got the pocket is collapsing for Petrus right there, and Upshaw just a little bit too much getting in Petrus' face, and referees not having it. That's 2 tough penalties right there, giving a fresh set of downs for the Hawkeyes. Now they're out at midfield. 1 wide receiver to the right, 2 underneath. Petrus goes, hands it off to Goodson. Goodson gets about 3 yards before he's taken down by big number 94, Chris Jenkins for the Wolverines.
Yeah, Michigan, they did everything they needed to do to get off the field, but one errant decision was enough to keep Iowa moving the chains. Very unfortunate.
Goodson now with 10 rushes for 16 yards, but, you know, the Michigan defense just stupid penalties right now. But 2nd down and 8, 14-23 left. Michigan up 14-3. Petrus in the empty shotgun. He's going to go to his left. He's got a tight end open. It's Laporta before he gets taken out by Josh Ross, and there's a flag on the play.
Another flag. Let's see who it's on. I suspect Michigan again.
Personal foul, tripping. Offense number 78. 15-yard penalty. 2nd down.
So not on Michigan, actually on the offense. Got to move back Iowa even further.
It's going to be on the tackle, Mason Richmond, the freshman from Leawood, Kansas. So the team's extending penalties both ways.
Absolutely. I'm getting word from fellow broadcaster Owen Crane, who is currently broadcasting a hockey game in Yost Arena, Michigan versus Minnesota. He says this crowd is following the game, and they're getting loud when Michigan gets a touchdown.
So 2nd down and 23, 13 seconds left on the play clock. Peterson, the shotgun, hands it off to Goodson. Goodson gets about 2 yards on that one, and Hawkins is right there to tackle him.
Going to be 3rd and very long, 21 yards or so, 20 yards rather.
Hawkins and Hinton on the tackle, so it's going to be 3rd down and 20 for the Hawkeyes. Can the defense get off the field? The ball's going to be on the Iowa 40.
You got to think they need to get off here. If they give up a 20-yard play on 3rd down, not a good look for the defense.
So Petrus is going to go in the shotgun. 2 wide receivers to his right. Goodson is the back to his left. Hands it off to Goodson. Goodson stutter steps. He's going to break out to the left. He's not going to get enough. He's going to be taken down by Gary Ojabo and Colson. So the Wolverines able to force the punt.
A little bit of defense by committee there, but it got the job done. 4th and 13, as we now expect a punt coming your way. Early in this game, I don't expect any trick plays of any sort on special teams, but with Iowa, that's never out of the question.
So Taylor is the kicker for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we got A.J. Henning standing at his own 10. Torrey gets the kick. So it's going to go deep, and A.J. Henning calls the fair catch at his own 8-yard line. So Michigan will start deep on their own side of the field.
Iowa's punter fell on the ground. However, the referee signaled it will not be a penalty after that. Curious, looking at the replay, that potentially may have been one of his own guys who hit him. That is what it looks like. So, although Iowa did want a potential roughing the punter call, no success on that one.
So I'm curious to see what Zach is hearing on the field. You know, you got 2 tough penalties on the Wolverines. One for the pass interference on Dax Hill, and then the unsportsmanlike conduct. They're giving the Wolverines, or giving Iowa a fresh set of downs. What's the feeling? Is Harbaugh pulling people to the side? Like, what's going on down there?
Coach Harbaugh was very visibly upset with Taylor Upshaw on the sideline after that last penalty. And these are one of the penalties that you can say are kind of boneheadish. You can't have a penalty like that in a stature of this game. And Taylor Upshaw had 2 sacks earlier this season against Northwestern, but has been relatively quiet for the senior from Bradenton, Florida, since then. So Taylor Upshaw getting some time, and he was in the backfield right there with Aiden Hutchinson forcing the incompletion. But typically when you hear penalty on a long pass on 3rd down, you typically think it's pass interference. And when you're off the field on 3rd down, you just walk back to your huddle and get ready for the next play. So I'm sure Coach Harbaugh, very unhappy with Taylor Upshaw on the sideline, was not able to hear what they were saying. However, obviously not very happy with Taylor Upshaw.
Thank you, Zach, for that. You know, sideline report getting us a feeling of how this Michigan coaching staff is feeling down there. You know, it's tough. It's tough when you do all the hard work and you're right there and you get a stupid penalty.
Yeah, so we are going into the second quarter right now, 12:31 remaining in the half. Michigan gets the ball back for the first time of this quarter, and I'm curious to see how McNamara rebounds after throwing that interception. Relatively uncharacteristic for him. I remember he didn't even have an interception until over halfway through the season. That's how cautious he was. Michigan was actually the last Big Ten team, last team in all of college football of FCS to unable to give out a surrender and a turnover on offense.
Yeah, that was Cade McNamara's 4th interception of the season. We saw one last weekend against Ohio State when they were driving, potentially looking to go up by 2 scores, but, you know, he rebounded. And, you know, Cade McNamara, he's a smart quarterback. He's not flashy, but he makes the right throws, the right plays. He's a smart football player, high IQ. I expect Cade McNamara to rebound on this one, no problem.
Michigan's going to start relatively close to their own end zone on the 7.5, 8-yard line.
So Michigan up 14-3 over Iowa. 12:31 left in the second quarter. McNamara in the shotgun, hands it off to Haskins. Haskins up the middle. He gets about 4 or 5 yards on that one, giving Michigan a little bit more space to work with. It's going to be 2nd down and 6.
Yeah, and this is more in line with Michigan's offense we've seen. So far, they've had a lot of big plays. That's been the majority of their offense. But for most of the season, we've just seen several like 5-yard gain, 6-yard gain, 4-yard rush.
So McNamara in the shotgun, 2 wide receivers to his left. Haskins is the back to the left. Handoff is to Haskins. Haskins got blockers. He's going to bounce out to the right, but he just gets to the line of scrimmage right there, and it's going to be a 3rd down for the Wolverines deep in their own territory.
Yeah, 3rd and short, once again, a little bit more than short. I think it's going to be 5. But Michigan had a lot of success on last Saturday against Ohio State on these 3rd and short possessions.
So it's going to be 3rd down and 5 for the Wolverines. Ball on their own 13-yard line. McNamara is going to go in the empty backfield. Now he signals Corum to come in. You got 3 wide receivers to his left. 4 seconds left on the play clock. 2 seconds. Can they get it off? They do get it off. McNamara drops back in the pocket. It's going to be forced out to his right, looking for a man. Defense comes, gets the ball away. He's got Cornelius Johnson, but it's almost intercepted on that one.
That was a risky play. Not something we've seen a lot from McNamara. It's kind of a 50-50 deep ball. He was lucky it wasn't picked, but just unable to hang on from the defensive back. We got Robbins coming onto the field for the 2nd time today.
So big shift in momentum right there as Michigan goes 3 and out.
A little bit of a shift from Iowa. I'm curious of what they're doing.
Brad Robbins from his own goal line gets the kick away. Good kick right there. It's going to be brought out by Jones, and he's going to get taken down inside the territory, actually losing possession, or losing field space right there.
Yeah, we're trying to do a little bit of an end around, cut outside, avoid Michigan's special teams gunners, but all that ended up doing was a loss of 5-6 yards.
So it's going to be the Hawkeyes will start in their own territory at the 41-yard line. Let's look at some comparisons here. Total yards of offense for the Wolverines, 205. Iowa, 133. Roughly the same amount passing, but the Wolverines more dominant on the ground. So here we go. 1st down and 10 for the Hawkeyes. Ball on their own 41. Petrus is under center right now. 10 seconds left on the play clock. Here we go. Petrus drops back, fakes the handoff. He's going to roll to his right. Defender's there, but he's got Jones open. Jones has got space, and Jones gets the 1st down before he's taken out by Gary.
A little bit of some words exchanged on the sideline there. Probably not going to be a flag, but you like to see the passion that these Michigan guys have on the field.
So the Hawkeyes are able to move the chains, getting into Michigan territory. 14-3, 10:40 left. Iowa looking to score to get back into this game. Petrus is under center. Goodson is the back. 2 wide receivers to the left. Petrus drops back, hands it off to Goodson, but Dax Hill is right there to stop Goodson in the backfield for a loss of 2.
We haven't seen much of Dak this game, finally putting his name in the record books, in the box score. And that's one of the first big plays where we've seen a tackle for a loss this game.
Dax Hill just blitzing right there, unmarked. I mean, when you have Aiden Hutchinson to the right next to you, Dax Hill comes in unmarked, gets the tackle in the backfield. But here we go. It's 2nd down and 12. 2 wide receivers to the right, 3 underneath. Petrus in an empty backfield. Petrus drops back, looks to his right. Ross is there, but Petrus gets it away, but it gets taken. He's got a wide receiver right there.
We've seen Ross be an option for Michigan's defense in terms of blitzing, oftentimes to a lot of success. He's able to get that speed, break through the line, and get right to the quarterback right there, was unable to secure the sack, but it was enough to force a kind of dump-off pass for a gain of only like 3-4 yards.
So 3rd down and 8. Ball on the Michigan 45. 3 wide receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Peterson in empty backfield, drops back, pressure comes, gets it away, but he gets sandwiched in there. Ball falls to the ground. Colson and Turner not letting that ball get to the Iowa player.
Ball went up in the air for a split second. I thought Michigan might have an interception on its hands, unable to get under it, but it has the same result as they will likely take over possession after this punt. That was a true sandwiching from Michigan's defense.
Ball intended for Keegan Johnson, the freshman, 6'1", 197, just gets sandwiched right there.
Got Turner as the main defensive back on that one.
So here is the punt by Taylor. A.J. Henning at his own 5-yard line. He's going to call for the fair catch, drops back, and he's going to fair catch at the 3-yard line. So Michigan, once again, not starting with favorable territory.
Yeah, you see it kind of compound as Michigan's unable to get the they had a 3-and-out, unable to move the chains, so they punted it, and they began at the 50. So even though they got a quick stop, just wasn't enough to move it out. So now at this media timeout, we got Zach Linfield joining us once again. I'm curious, Zach, the last 2 drives have been pretty unsuccessful for Michigan following the 2 highly successful ones, to put it lightly. What does Michigan need to do? Any adjustments to get that spark back on offense?
I think a lot of what they have to do is maybe revert back to part of the game plan for Michigan State, Penn State, even some of Ohio State last weekend, where the underneath routes were decently successful, but Cade was able to put it into the chest of a lot of their receivers in those 3 games. However, you look back to Eric All in the Michigan State game, had a career day, and then you throw it back just a short couple minutes ago where the pass was incomplete for All, but more than likely should have had the pass complete and ended up as an interception for Iowa. But these underneath routes for Michigan have worked in the past, and what do the underneath routes open up? They open up the deep shots, the trick plays at the Wolverines. I almost guarantee you we'll see another flea flicker at some point in this game for Michigan.
Yeah.
They pulled that out in at least every game one time, it seemed like.
And that touchdown wasn't a traditional flea flicker. Usually it's back to the quarterback. That was kind of a mixed one, too, almost like Patriot-esque. I know we're in the Colts Stadium, but pulling out of the bag of tricks. Harbaugh, this team, the Colts, is a special team for him. He played for them for several seasons in the NFL.
He's in the Ring of Honor.
His name is actually in the Ring of Honor. Kind of surprised you. They have a long Ring of Honor for a relatively young franchise in the Colts. Honestly, I wouldn't put half of these guys out there, but I guess that's not my opinion. I'll put Peyton. I'll put Reggie Wayne.
You'll put Jim Harbaugh.
Put Marvin Harrison. Maybe Tony Dungy. I don't think I'd put Harbaugh if it were up to me.
Nonetheless, the Wolverines running the football, you'd expect maybe a little bit more so far. But like we mentioned, Amir and I talked about this right in the pregame, that running the football against Iowa is a really tough thing to do. And so far, we haven't really seen the explosiveness of Hassan Haskins after contact. Of course, when we talk about explosiveness, we saw that long touchdown from Corum, but let's hope to see some more of that in the second quarter.
And we have a score update from Ann Arbor. Michigan hockey able to fight back a win against Minnesota 6-2. So they lost to Minnesota last night. They win tonight, even it up. I'm sure the crowd at Yost is going to run home to watch the rest of this game.
Good comeback victory by the Michigan hockey team. But here we go, 9:08 left in the second quarter. Michigan on their own 3-yard line, so deep in their own zone. McNamara is the quarterback, hands it off to Haskins. Haskins up the middle, breaks it out to the left, and just a mosh pit is able to get down to the 5-yard line. Hassan Haskins with the 2-yard carry.
Props to Iowa's defense for limiting Haskins relative, I guess, to what he did last week, only averaging about 2 or 3 yards per carry. Compare that to last week, he was averaging close to 10.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2nd down and 8, ball on the Michigan 5. 2 wide receivers to the left, 1 to the right of McNamara. Corum is the back. 14 left on the play clock. McNamara receives the ball, drops back in the pocket. Good pocket presence, just dumps it deep to Corum, and Corum actually loses yardage on that one. Gets taken down at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be 3rd down.
3rd and 9, 3rd and maybe 8.5. I am curious, not curious, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the first time Corum has been in with McNamara at QB. And now, look, we have another running back substitution.
Here comes Donovan Edwards. Do we see a little bit more of Harbaugh and Gaddis going into their bag of tricks? So it's going to be 3rd down and 8. Ball on the Michigan 5. 7:52 left in the second quarter. McNamara in the shotgun. 3 wide receivers to his left. 2 seconds left on the play clock. Gets the snap off. McNamara, pressure comes. Just has to throw it away to not get the sack. And the Wolverines are going to go 3 and out once again.
That's the 3rd 3 and out of the game for Michigan, and the 2nd in a row. Those 2 drives, they got those big, long touchdown plays. But besides that, they haven't been able to move the ball too much. It seems like Iowa's solving this Michigan offense.
Solving their offense, or Michigan just not executing right there, but pressure came to McNamara. McNamara had to quickly get the ball away. But Brad Robbins is standing deep in his own end zone right now.
Yeah, Michigan was almost a safety
looks
concern.
Like Harbaugh is going to call a timeout as the play clock was approaching 2 seconds left, and Michigan did not want to be pinned even further back in their own territory.
Half the distance to the goal, just take the penalty, honestly, at that point. It's like 1.5 yards. I guess maybe slightly less room for Robbins to punt, but he's a skilled punter. I think he could deal with that.
So 7:41 left in the second quarter. Michigan leads 14-3. Really has kind of, I don't know if I would say taking the foot off the gas pedal, or Iowa defense just playing much better. But last couple of drives ending in 3 and outs for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I don't know if that is totally on McNamara and Michigan's offense. It's tough because both of those drives that resulted in a 3 and out were within the 10-yard line of Michigan's own field. So that really limits the playbook on what you could do. You can't really drop back. You can't really look for a deep play, where Michigan has had some success so far today by risking a safety. A sack just is unacceptable. So you have to run it up the gut. And that's been the one dominant aspect of Iowa's defense so far, is preventing the run, especially from Haskins. I guess they were looking at the clips last week, and they're like, if we need to do one thing, we're stopping him. So far, it's working.
I mean, the Iowa defense, they have a stellar defense. They're 14th in the nation. And, they have the most interceptions since 2017. 86 interceptions. 11 of those returned to the house.
That is pretty shocking, but not surprising compared to considering Iowa's secondary. And also their luckiness. They were 9-2, but a lot of those games and wins weren't that convincing. You saw the game against Nebraska. It seemed like Nebraska blew it more than Iowa won it. See that win against Penn State? It was more about that injury that finally turned the tide. See some other games. The Northwestern game, I believe, was much closer than it should have been. Iowa is very lucky to be playing today.
Yeah, and Iowa's 2 losses, they were only able to score a touchdown. The loss coming on October 16th to Purdue at home. They lost 7-24. And then the following weekend at Camp Randall, losing 27-7 over Wisconsin. And then a pretty good bounce-back game to Northwestern to win 17-12.
Yeah. So right now, after this timeout, Michigan's going to expectedly punt. Curious, maybe a trick play
you
here.
don't see them doing a trick play deep in their own territory?
Yeah, on the 5-yard line, that would be very risky, but Harbaugh likes a risk.
So Brad Robbins is back out there to kick it away for the Wolverines, waiting for the green light from Fox to let this one go, but Brad Robbins is going to kick it to Charlie Jones, who's standing at midfield. Looks like Iowa is going to bring the house on this one. So here we go, 15 seconds left on the play clock.
Got some motion by Michigan. I'm curious.
Snap is good. Robbins, good defense right there. Gets it away. Good high booming punt. Charlie Jones drops back. He's going to receive it at his own 45. He's going to go out to the right. But Michigan's right there. He loses the ball, and it goes out of bounds. Whew, what a bullet they dodged right there. If that stays in bounds, Michigan's able to pick it up.
That would be a big gain and give a new set of downs. Iowa dodges a bullet. Second time today we've seen a punt return try to double back and kind of fail spectacularly. Guess not spectacularly. They didn't fumble it or give up possession. They didn't turn it over. But Michigan gets a relatively decent field position on defense here. I was going to begin on the 40-some yard line, so it's at least on the other side of midfield.
Iowa's 46 is where they're going to start. 7:30 left. Michigan leading 14-3. Petrus is under center. One wide receiver to his right, one to his left. Drops back in the pocket. He's going to hand it off to Goodson. Goodson to his right. He's going to get about 4 yards on that one before he's taken down by Chris Jenkins.
Michigan's defense is back out there, and they're showing Iowa why they're one of the best defenses in the country, holding the Hawkeyes to only 3 points about 23 minutes into this game.
If the doctor could order anything, it would be an Aiden Hutchinson or David Odrabo strip sack for the Wolverines. But Petrus is going to go empty. Two wide receivers to his right, two to his left. 9 seconds left on the play clock. Drops back, pressure comes. He's just got to throw it away, and he sails it over again. The Michigan defense is getting to the quarterback, forcing Spencer Petrus to just throw it away.
You absolutely see that. And now Michigan has another big play on 3rd and 7 here. They could get the ball back early and get another drive, get that offensive spark moving. That would be key for the Wolverines.
So the Wolverines are going to make some substitutions right there. It's going to be 3rd down and 7. Ball on the Iowa 48. One wide receiver to Petrus's right, 3 to his left. Goodson is the back. Now he goes to the left. Petrus drops back. Pressure comes. He's being held, but Petrus is going to have to break away. There's a flag. This one's going to come back, but Petrus is getting space. And then he gets the first down, but we are going to have a flag on the play. Tackle made by Hawkins.
Let's see who it is. I have a feeling it's going to be on the offense. They're already backing up. Possibly a holding coming up.
It was clear as day. You could see the holding up here.
Offense, number 77, 10-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
So that's going to be a replay of 3rd down for Michigan, or for Iowa on offense.
Connor Colby, the freshman, the guilty party, 6'6", 292. It's kind of tough when you got Hutchinson and Ojabo coming at you.
Yeah. I'm seeing that replay. Petrus did take a shot right there, almost a helmet to helmet.
Brad Hawkins just laying the shoulder down, you know, letting Petrus know, hey, you want to run up the gut, you're going to feel this one. But 3rd down and 17, 6:18 left. Petrus in the empty shotgun. Drops back, good presence, but we're going to have a stoppage in the play. It looks like somebody called a timeout.
Let's see.
Play is under further review.
The play is on. I'm curious if maybe a targeting is in order. I saw it on the replay. I think that might be a call, in my opinion.
It won't be on Hawkins because Hawkins, he dipped his shoulder. I think it was Vincent Gray that came in as well. Let's send it down to Zach Linfield. And Zach, what did you see on that play right there? You know, Petrus breaking away, running up the gut. What did you see from field level?
If anything here, Brad Hawkins was not going to be the guilty party unless he really lowered his helmet. However, if there is a penalty to be called on, it would be Rod Moore because Spencer Petrus was falling to the ground. Hawkins would have confirmed the tackle, but Rod Moore, who was kind of coming in as the secondary tackler, did provide a little helmet-to-helmet against Petrus. But nonetheless, I don't think this should be a targeting penalty because this is nothing egregious on Petrus. Nonetheless,
as we see the replay from up here, you know, Hawkins, he goes deep. or he goes low. Just a good tackle right there. You know, what you learn playing Pee-wee football, dropping the shoulder. Yeah, Spencer Petras takes a hard hit, but then you have more coming in across. And, you know, he doesn't lean with the crown of the helmet. His helmet does make contact with Petras' head. So the referees are taking a good look at this. You know, the way football has been trending now, I would not be surprised if they call this targeting.
And the unfortunate thing, too, is that this was third down and very long, so if anything, the penalties could offset. So it would potentially still be third down and 17. And we still have yet to hear from Mike Cannon, the head referee, who's still on the replay review. But Rod Moore was not coming in with any kind of egregious intent on Spencer Petras. If Petras was still standing straight up, it's a perfect form tackle. But as you mentioned, Amir, this is the way that football is trending. It could very well be called. Here's the call.
After review, there is no foul for targeting on number 19. Third down.
So you heard it there, no foul for targeting. We were correct, and that's what they were reviewing.
That's a huge, Michigan dodging even more bullets right there. You know, Rod Moore gets to stay in the game. He's come up huge for the Wolverines. And now, you know, you set Iowa back. Those penalties don't offset. So now it's going to be third down and 17 for the Hawkeyes. And, you know, I agree with the play. You know, he did make contact with the head, but he did not lean with the crown of the helmet. It was more of like a love tap, you know?
Love tap. So now, big play for Iowa, third and 17. They're going to need to get a deep pass on this one to convert.
So the ball is going to be on Iowa's 38. Petras is going to go in an empty shotgun. One wide receiver to his right, two to his left. Gets the ball, drops back, good pocket presence. He's going to go to his right. And it looks like it's caught, but it's going to be short of the first down. Keegan Johnson, the freshman, with the catch for the Hawkeyes.
So it's going to be fourth and manageable there. They were relying on the slants, and it was a good pass, good play, great catch, just unable to get enough for the first down, and they're going to bring the punt crew out, looks like. Unless this might be a time for a trick play.
You know,
it's at midfield, so if it fails, it's not a huge burden.
I would agree with you on that one, but, you know, the way Iowa's defense has been able to shut down Michigan's offense, punt it. So here we go. Taylor punts it away. A.J. Henning is going to signal for the fair catch at his own 9-yard line. Deja vu once again. But does Michigan switch the script? You know, the last 3 possessions, they started deep in their own territory. Zach, I know you're standing very similar there to the Michigan bench. You know, this is the 3rd or 4th possession in a row where Michigan's starting pinned deep in their own territory.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate for Michigan because they've only gone 90-plus yards a couple of times. And you look back to the longest touchdowns of the year, you have the 94-yarder is the longest by Michigan on an Andrel Anthony slant across the middle. And what I say earlier, these underneath routes are what Michigan's going to have open as the game continues to move along. But then you have an 87-yarder by Cornelius Johnson, which was just a straight go down the sideline. However, Iowa right now is getting significant pressure on Cade McNamara through the A and the B gaps of the offensive line. And this is a very good defensive line for Iowa, led by Zach Van Valkenburg on the outside. And by Van Valkenburg expanding down the line of scrimmage and taking the tackles out of play for Michigan, that's what's expanding those gaps. That's what's allowing the linebackers like Belton and Benson to get up the field for Iowa. On that last drive for Michigan, the 3rd down play where Cade tried to find Donovan Edwards out of the backfield, that's exactly what happened. Van Valkenburg took the tackle Hayes to the outside on the far side of the formation, and through the A gap came the linebacker Benson, and he almost put a big-time hit on Cade McNamara.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned Zach Van Valkenburg. He is a Michigan native. The senior from Zeeland, Michigan, 6'4", 267, making his presence known on that right side of the defensive line, getting to Cade McNamara. But now, you know, it's always been the question is, how far can Cade take this team, and how much do you want to sprinkle in J.J. McCarthy? Do we see a little bit more of that, you think, or does Harbaugh stick with Cade for?
Well, I'll tell you from my standpoint, my point of view here, is that Cade McNamara is the guy for Michigan when it comes to taking the majority of the snaps. However, I'll tell you what, J.J. McCarthy stays readily available at all times. We're during a media timeout right now, and he's down on the sideline throwing with Alan Bowman so that everyone can see him, making sure that J.J. is ready just in case, knock on wood, something were to happen to Cade and he had to exit the game, or if Cade doesn't perform the way that they think he should and J.J. all of a sudden is into the game for a drive, see the youngster. How can he do? Because we know he can scoot. And yeah, guys, he can throw the football as well. That's really what he's known for. He just has the speed factor and the ability to exit the pocket that really helps out the Wolverines.
Thank you, Zach. Great reporting from down there on the sideline. So we got 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Michigan is going to start on their own 9-yard line. So deep in their own zone once again. McNamara is going to stay in at quarterback. Donovan Edwards will be the back. Right behind him, you're going to have one wide receiver super wide. It's going to be Cornelius Johnson, and then a couple tight ends in there. But
Johnson
here we go.
has been decently quiet. No reception so far today.
McNamara drops back, throws it out to Edwards. Edwards got blockers. He's got space. Edwards is going to get the first down all the way out to the Michigan 20-yard line. So a fresh set of downs for the Wolverines.
And finally, Michigan breaks the streak of 3 and outs, and it took the first play, none other than Edwards. It was the young guy, the young back who has reception potential to be able to give Michigan that spark.
So it's first down and 10 from the Michigan 20-yard line. 2 wide receivers to the left of McNamara. Edwards is the back. 14 seconds left on the play clock. Hands off is to Edwards. Edwards is going to get taken down in the backfield. A loss of 4 yards. Let's send it down to Zach real quick.
Yeah, I have an injury update from down here on the sideline. Spencer Petras has now made his way to the tunnel in the locker room for Iowa, meaning Alex Padilla would be the next to step in. He got the last 3 starts, all Iowa wins. So whether or not it's a rib or a head against Spencer Petras, he also had a shoulder injury a couple weeks ago that's kept him sidelined. We don't know. Maybe the head-to-head contact got to him. But let's go back down for 2nd and 12.
All right, thank you, Zach. 2nd down and 12 for the Wolverines. Ball on their own 18. McNamara drops back in the pocket, looks to his left. Good pocket presence. He's got a man open, but he cannot bring down the ball, and it was intended for Cornelius Johnson. You alluded to it, Adam, there. You know, Cornelius Johnson has been quiet this whole game.
He has no receptions, no real mark of him in the box score, but that was a diving catch. He got 2 hands on it. That's something we've seen him reel in earlier this season, not saying it's expected, but actually I kind of am saying that because he's been able to do that a lot this season.
So big 3rd down here. Michigan on their own 18-yard line, 3rd down and 12. 10 seconds left on the play clock. 3 wide receivers to the left. McNamara receives the ball. He's got space through the middle. McNamara's going to run across, and he's going to get the first down. McNamara diving for the first down right there.
We have seen him be reluctant to use his feet, especially on there. That wasn't even really a play action. That was just a scripted run. He found a gap, instantly went, and for success, he got the 10-plus yards, keeping this drive alive and moving the chains for the Wolverines.
That was the longest rush for Cade McNamara right there, and at the end just gives a little first down. You know, I've seen Aaron Rodgers do that. So first down and 10 for the Wolverines. 3 wide receivers to the left of McNamara. McNamara drops back in the pocket, flushed up to his right. He's going to throw it across to Haskins, and Haskins is going to get another first down for the Wolverines. Here we go. Wolverines are starting to turn the engines on.
I think part of it is that it builds on itself. Once you get out of the back of your end zone, it really opens up what you could do. You could do more of these longer things that might result in a sack and really play around with the end arounds and the slants.
So 3:06 left in the first half. Michigan, they could use some points in this half because Iowa deferred, so Michigan got the ball to start this first half. So let's see what the Wolverines can do on their own 46. McNamara in the shotgun. Edwards is the back. Fake handoff to Edwards. Steps up in the pocket, throws across to Edwards, but just throws it behind him, and it hits the ground. So it's going to be 2nd down and 10 for the Wolverines. 2:45 left. McNamara took a hit on that one, though.
Yeah, that was from Higgins. Found an open slot. McNamara got it out quickly, but still not fast enough to avoid the hit.
Yeah, Higgins right there. If he's a second late, McNamara hits Edwards on the numbers. And so 2nd down and 10 on their own 46-yard line. 15 left on the play clock. 2 receivers split out to both sides. Edwards is the back. 7 seconds left on the play clock. Now signals Edwards is in motion. McNamara drops back. He's just got to throw it to Edwards. Hits Edwards, but Edwards is going to be taken out. Bounds right around the halfway field.
Yeah, so it's going to be 3rd and manageable, but not super close. We've seen a lot of hooks and pass plays, especially earlier in the season. A bit too far for a run. Curious to see what Harbaugh pulls out of his playbook on this one.
Harbaugh has 2 timeouts. I would not mind to have him call a timeout right here.
The problem becomes you don't want to give more time if you don't convert it to the Hawkeyes.
So 10 seconds left on the play clock. 2 wide receivers to the right of McNamara. McNamara in an empty shotgun formation. 4 seconds left on the play clock. McNamara drops back, looks to his right. Pressure comes, and McNamara is going to be taken down for a loss.
And that was a crucial play. Line just could not pick up the blitz. And that will be the first sack of the day for, I believe, either team.
Yeah, Seth Benson just coming through there, the linebacker, and sacking McNamara for a loss of 8 yards.
Michigan's going to punt for the 4th time today, but at least it'll have a little bit better field position. All previous punts have been 3 and outs.
So Brad Robbins standing at his own 25-yard line, receives the punt or the ball and just sends it away. A high arcing punt. It's going to sail and bounce into the end zone, and the Iowa Hawkeyes will start at their 25. 1st down and 10, 1:21 left to play in the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, you asked about maybe using a timeout there. This is why I probably wouldn't have, because now you got give Iowa the ball only about 80 seconds. But it would have given them much more without if Harbaugh would have elected to use one of his 2 remaining timeouts in this first half.
So this is going to be one of those big drives, those big momentum setting drives for both teams. Can Michigan keep Iowa off the board, since Iowa will get the ball to start? But Spencer Petras is out there at quarterback for the Hawkeyes, so probably just some precautionary stuff. In the gun. Petras receives the ball, looks to his left, throws it across, intended for Johnson, but he cannot come down with it. It's going to be 2nd down and 10 for the Hawkeyes.
And that was the slants where we've seen success from all game for the Hawkeyes, but just unable to reel that in. Michigan plays the man tightly, but we've seen a lot of results.
Yeah, the ball was on the money, but Vincent Gray gets a hand in there and just forces it away. So 2nd down and 10, 1:17 left. 3 wide receivers to the left of Petras, 1 to the right. Petras receives the ball, drops back, and here comes Aiden Hutchinson, and Aiden Hutchinson gets his 1st sack of the game. Aiden Hutchinson getting to Spencer Petras.
And that is actually the first sack for all of Michigan. So we saw the first sack for Iowa in the last drive, first sack for Michigan. They're almost in a safety territory at this point. Got to be the 9-yard line where they take possession here on 3rd down.
So Harbaugh electing to call a timeout after Aiden Hutchinson just blowing by the tackle and Goodson. So Harbaugh electing to call a timeout. It's going to be 3rd and 20 for Iowa, ball on their own 10-yard line.
That's curious move to use the timeout right there, because it could potentially backfire. But you know what that shows? It shows Harbaugh has faith in his defense to get the stop here. 3rd and 20 now. So now if Michigan's defense could get a stop, they potentially give the offense a little bit of an opportunity to maybe get some points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown.
So Michigan leads 14-3 over Iowa. 1:11 left. Ball on Iowa's own 10-yard line. 3rd down and 20. Let's see what Coach McDonald drew up for this defense. So Petras is in the gun. Two wide receivers to his right, 1 to the left. Petras receives the ball. He's going to hand it off to Goodson. Goodson up the middle, breaks away from a few tackles before he gets taken down around the 18-yard line. David Ojabo and Mike Barrett on the tackle.
And that was a good run. He was able to evade several tackles, but it won't be enough on 3rd and 20. I'm not surprised to see that the play was a run call. It either keeps the clock moving or forces Michigan to burn a timeout.
That's exactly what happened. Harbaugh electing to burn his final timeout. So,
going to be 65 seconds left as Michigan gets this ball back, presumably from a punt. It's 4th and 14 on the 16-yard line. I don't foresee trick play here with 1:05, just too much risk.
So now Aiden Hutchinson has the career. He's just adding on to his career sacks, now up to 14. 2 clear of Lamar Woodley, who set the record back in 2006. So here we go. Taylor is standing on his own 4-yard line, receives the punt. Good high arcing punt. It's going to be A.J. Henning who's going to just send everybody away. It bounces at the 40. It takes an Iowa bounce, and they're just going to watch it bounce before it stops around the 32-yard line.
Why did he not call a fair catch there? He lit about 15 seconds, milk off the clock, just letting it bounce and fall down. At that point, he would have not only saved 5 yards from the lucky bounce, but he could have stopped the clock in the process.
So Michigan's got 51 seconds to do something before heading into halftime. They lead 14-3 over Iowa. They're going to start on their own 33-yard line. McNamara is the quarterback. Haskins is to his right. 2 wide receivers to the left, 2 to the right. McNamara in the shotgun, drops back, looks to his left. He's going to throw it across to the left. It's Andrew Anthony with the catch before he gets taken out of bounds. So you stop the clock right there.
Yeah, that's key without any timeouts for Michigan. Really limits their playbook. Michigan's most successful on the ground, but they can't really run it unless it's a guaranteed first down.
So it's going to stop the clock at 47 seconds. It's going to be 2nd down and 4 for the Wolverines. Michigan's going to stay in the shotgun. It's going to be the same formation as it was the previous play. 2 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. McNamara drops back. Now he's going to look to the right before he just dumps it across to Hassan Haskins, and Haskins gets the first down, where he gets taken down at the 45-yard line. Fresh set of downs for the Wolverines.
And the clock will momentarily stop at 22. Michigan hurries up to get set. Clock is moving now.
Clock is moving now. We're under 40 seconds. McNamara in the gun. McNamara drops back, looks to his left. He's got Haskins, and he's going to get taken down in the field of play. So we got 27 seconds left. Michigan's going to need to hurry it up right here. It's going to be 2nd down and 7 to go. 22 seconds left to play. McNamara in the gun. McNamara drops back, looks to his left. He's going to be flushed out right, and he's just going to throw it across to Cornelius Johnson, but that one sails out of bounds, and it stops the clock at 11 seconds. It's going to be 3rd down and 7. So what do the Wolverines want to do here with 11 seconds? If you don't get the first down, then you got to potentially punt it away.
I'd say you just take a deep shot. It'll be enough time in the air where it won't give Iowa any time left.
Jake Moody
That was a bad move by Haskins. He should have just let it drop.
Moody is warming up on the sidelines. His career long is 52 yards. But here we go. McNamara in the gun. 1 receiver to his left, 2 to the right. McNamara drops back. He's going to look deep. Pressure comes, gets it across, and it's intended for A.J. Henning, but he cannot come down with it. So the clock stops at 6 seconds left, and it's going to be 4th down and 7.
Just bring him back out onto the field. And I guess they're not bringing the punters, so they're keeping the offense out. Pretty surprising. We got JJ coming on out.
JJ is in. So with 6 seconds left, it's going to be a Hail Mary type of play.
Maybe just like an arm punt. Just make sure it gets enough hang time to bring out the halftime buzzer.
So 10 seconds left on the play clock, 6 seconds left in regulation. McCarthy in the gun. McCarthy gets the ball, drops back in the pocket, looks deep, plenty of time. He sends it deep. He's got men. It's going to go to the end zone, and it's going to be intercepted.
So what did I say? An arm punt opportunity. Iowa in the stat book, they'll get the interception, maybe give someone something to add to the highlight reel, but in practice it does nothing. And that'll bring both teams into the locker room. Michigan up 14-3 with a really hot start, but neither team really able to make anything happen following that.
So Jamari Chase coming down with that interception right there to close the game. But Michigan has won their last 40 games when they lead by 10 at halftime. Last loss in 2013 against Iowa.
Well, what did you just say? Who'd they play when they lost? Was the Hawkeyes. And the Hawkeyes have had several surprises for Michigan over the years. And this feels like it is close enough where no one has a lead. And no, it's not. It's anyone's game at this point.
It is anyone's game. You know, credit to Kurt Ferentz and this Iowa Hawkeyes defense for not letting up. You know, Michigan came out hungry, and then they went up early, 14-0. Iowa Hawkeyes sticking around. So your halftime score from Lucas Oil Stadium, Michigan 14, Iowa 3. Zach, let's get a report from down low.
Well, the Michigan football team, the program, is going to go inside of the locker room perhaps a bit disappointed after the first quarter that they had. So Michigan with a 14-3 lead, you'd obviously like a little bit more, especially on that last drive with an opportunity. And Michigan flounders a little bit by staying inbounds. And the clock continued to run, and that allowed the clock to just continue to chug out. And Iowa, essentially, it does act as an arm punt because they will be getting the ball to begin the second half. So Michigan, to open the second half, Adam, as we're not going to be switching over for the rest of the game, they can't revert back to the way that they played on that first drive against Iowa in the first half. But now that Iowa's out of their scripted plays, of course they script a first drive or two, this may be a little bit different. We'll see what Iowa chucks up in the second half.
Oh, absolutely. I think Haskins has to, he's a senior, he's been on this team for several years. He has to have the game IQ and the experience to drop that ball. He definitely didn't have any room to get out to the sideline. At that point, just swat it down, practically use it as a de facto spike, I would say. And unfortunately, it'll cost Michigan a chance for last-second points. But as we have the bands lining up on the field for the halftime show, I believe Michigan will go first and then Iowa will follow.
Or perhaps a joint performance, no?
Yeah, it's tough to tell because both bands are wearing yellow, and Michigan's wearing maize and blue, and Iowa's wearing yellow and black. So it's a bit tough to tell because Michigan's blue is quite dark. It's a navy.
Well, why don't we go over the first half statistics, individual statistics, team statistics. Let's start with individual, and let's start with the Hawkeyes. Spencer Petras was 8 of 17, 126. That's below 50% completion rate. And he's got to be significantly better on the deep ball for Iowa because in years past, recent years especially for Michigan, that's where they've gotten beaten is the deep ball.
Yeah, we look at the long for the Iowa. Of any pass, it's been 28 yards, and that's not even in the air. Most of that came after the catch from Charlie Jones. Petras, after about 15 yards, he has a tendency to overthrow. And I think a lot of that credit, it won't show up in the stat book, but watching the game, it's on Hutchinson. He's forcing these quick throws, not letting plays develop, not letting Petras get set and give some accurate shots. And that is enough to keep any deep play threats. The biggest gain was on a pass interference on Daxton Hill.
Yeah, not to mention the avoided unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that Michigan had because Iowa then got a tripping penalty to push themselves back and helping out the Wolverines on defense. Rushing the ball, though, Iowa has not been great. 19 carries, 35 yards. Tyler Goodson, their stud running back, 12 attempts for 24 yards. And you and I were talking about this all day long. We spent all day at FanFest outside of the convention center here in Indianapolis. And you can say that you have a really good run game until your passing game dissipates. And then your running game then becomes slightly more average than good.
Yeah, the game last week was just so one-sided, but the Michigan had no trouble on the ground. On first down, on second down, on third down, regardless, they were able to pick up big plays. And I think part of that was the weather. I think part of that was the home atmosphere. But when your team requires to have two dimensions, it's a lot tougher to get the ball moving. It opens up the options you have. We see Harbaugh, a gesture of mastery in the playbook and the trick plays, pulling stuff out each game that's unique and keeps the players guessing. But he's going to have to do something to keep Michigan's offense multidimensional in this game. Iowa's a good enough defense, especially the defensive line, to prevent any Michigan's reliance on just the run game.
And let's flip over to the Michigan side of things right after mentioning that Sam Laporta has 3 receptions for 46 yards. It was a tale of the first half for Iowa's offense because they couldn't get anything going from wonderful field position a number of times during the second quarter. Laporta didn't have a catch in the second quarter. Look out for him in the second half. He'll probably be the main targeted guy for the Hawkeyes. Michigan on offense, I want to start with rushing the football. Hassan Haskins, a week after going for 169 yards and 5 touchdowns, has 5 carries for 13 yards and a long of 6. Do we see a little bit more of Blake Corum in the second half? He has 1 carry, 67 yards, and guess what the result was?
Yeah, his average is very high. His long is very high. But we've seen a couple of receptions from him, so it feels a little bit misleading to only look at that one play, but you're right. It hasn't been relying. I'm curious to see if his injury is any effect. He came back last week for the first time in over a month, and he had a solid day, but he certainly looked less than 100% healthy. He had a breakaway in a play that would likely have ended in a touchdown early in the season that he got taken down at the 20-yard line, just unable to really extend and move out of the way and find the open field. But you need to get Corum in. You need to get Edwards in. Haskins is doing well, but when he's the only guy in the backfield, I guess every defensive coordinator except Ohio State knows what to expect there. And I could guarantee you they looked at last week's game and they found a game plan to, at the very least, lock down Haskins, and so far it has been enough.
The defensive coordinator, Phil Parker, has done a fantastic job. It's a 4-3 or a 4-2-5 defense, depending on the way that you look at it. Michigan does have a 14-3 lead over Iowa here at the Big Ten Championship game in Indianapolis. This is WCBN Radio with Zach Linfield here with Adam Bressler to my left. Amer Bektas is probably grabbing something from the buffet, you think?
I am sure he is up in this NFL press box. This is the first time Michigan has ever played in Lucas Oil. They've played in a couple of NFL stadiums before. They've played in Jerry World comes to mind. The Outback Bowl was in Raymond James, home of the Buccaneers. But first time in Indianapolis for Michigan, first time in this stadium since it was built in 2008. Mm-hmm. Coach Harbaugh, he coached in the NFL for 4 years for the 49ers. But since they were an NFC team in the Colts in the AFC, he only played them once over that time span, and that was actually in San Francisco. So he has yet to play in Lucas Oil.
Well, that's actually I didn't know that part of the NFL with Jim Harbaugh. However, Michigan has played 2 times in Indianapolis. Both were victories, knock on wood. I'm going to make this a little trivia for you.
Sounds good. I love trivia.
Oh, I know you do. When was the last time Michigan played in Indianapolis? What year?
I'm trying to think, because the Big Ten Championship, it's a relatively new concept.
2011.
You look at, like the headlines, Michigan appears in its first ever Big Ten Championship, and it sounds like a really big deal, especially for a program with as long of a history as Michigan. But then you realize it's only been 10 years, so wouldn't have been with the Big Ten Championship. Did they play like an exhibition against the Hoosiers here?
No.
Because they don't have bowls, at least not to my knowledge. I don't believe.
I'm going to have to put a shot clock on you.
Okay, go ahead. I'll say.
I need one guess.
1 year. I'll go with my favorite player, Tom Brady, 1999 season.
1907. Leather helmets.
1907. Wow. So I knew it wasn't any recent time.
The other contest was in the 1800s, and Michigan also won that contest as well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, I will almost guarantee no one in attendance at that game is still alive from 1907. Who'd they play in that one? Was it the Hoosiers?
No, it was not. It was a small school in Indiana.
Was it Butler?
No, I actually don't know. I didn't put it in my notes. I might have to find it now.
Maybe we'll have a stat man look it up. If anyone in the comments know, how about you go drop it, and we'll give you a little bit of a shout out if you could help us out there. At halftime, we have about 15 minutes left in it. We got Michigan's marching band taking the field for potentially a final time. They'll probably travel to the bowl game, but here in beautiful Indianapolis, they call this the event capital of the world for good reason.
Well, let's talk about your day that
Yeah.
I was included with, Amer as well in the first half.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the Fan Fest and the Big Noon kickoff stage that we were able to walk around. We didn't go inside of Fan Fest into
I
the
actually
convention
did.
center. You
Me
did?
and Amer went in, yeah.
Wow, ditched me.
Yeah, I know. You wanted to
Well,
go
let's hear about it.
on
Let's
the
hear about
field. Yeah. So Indianapolis, it is a very central city. They got so many hotels. I believe it's one of, outside of Vegas, the most hotel rooms per capita in the United States. Both stadiums, both Bankers Life Fieldhouse and Lucas Oil Stadium, are centrally located right by all of the hotels and convention center, and they have a beautiful, beautiful park right down the middle. And guess who we got to see this afternoon? This is almost the highlight of my trip. We got to
who's
see
that?
the one and only world record holder,
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
Shrimp cocktail, though, not the typical hot dogs that we're used
Yeah,
to seeing.
he still won regardless. How many pounds did he eat? He ate 18.1 pounds of shrimp in 8 minutes. That was
Ridiculous.
disgusting but phenomenal. Our
And here's the
very
interesting
own-
stat
yeah,
about
go ahead.
the shrimp cocktail competition. They had a undercard that
Yeah.
performed before the 8 world champion eaters had, and it was a Iowa fan and it was a Michigan fan, and they do this every year, the Big Ten Championship, besides the pandemic season last year. But Michigan's guy and Iowa's guy competed. They were both top 15 in the world at eating whatever they were supposed to eat, and the Michigan guy won.
Yeah.
And every year they've had this competition. I believe he
Supposedly,
said,
I'm skeptical, but go ahead. But
supposedly the winner of that eating competition, whatever university he represents, has gone on to win the football game that night.
So that's a good sign for the Wolverines, assuming it's true. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Our very own WCBN alums, Jeremy Parks, Daniel Thompson, Nate Sorensen, Nick Hornberg, they were cheering hard for Joey Chestnut.
Oh, of course.
Daniel Thompson actually took a photo with him. He was probably the biggest Chestnut fan there.
Oh, the smile on his face was so big.
Yeah.
I was able to find the names of the schools.
Okay, anyone want to take a guess in the comments before you reveal? But
We'll give it
I'm
about 30
really
seconds.
curious. We have the Michigan Marching Band on the field playing some songs from the hit musical Hamilton. I'm kind of curious why they chose that. Is that like connection to Indiana? Because Hamilton died before Indiana was even a state.
I'm not sure, but these are the kind of things that we have to chat about.
Yeah, I know.
When we have no commercials on the broadcast,
And
we have
since
to chat
it's
about
a
these things.
championship game, it's a longer halftime intermission than normal. Believe it was it half an
It was
hour?
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Maybe longer.
Okay, so how about you answer? No one seems to be guessing.
So the previous 2 games in Indianapolis that Michigan has played in were both victories. They were played in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It was an 18-0 victory against DePaul, not DePaul, DePaul, in
DePaul?
1892, and a 22-0 win against Wabash in 1907.
So DePaul University, I've never heard of them. Their mascot is the Tigers, and they're based out of Greencastle, Indiana.
So it is an Indiana school.
Yes,
Hoosier.
I would hope so, but they're a Methodist heritage organization, private liberal arts university, and let me see if there's any notable alumni, because I have not heard of this university. Yeah, I don't see too many notable ones. What was the other university they faced?
Wabash.
Wabash.
W-A-B-A-S-H. And here we are talking about
Crawfordville, Indiana. So
another
neither of those
Hoosier
are
school.
from greater Indianapolis. Founded by several Dartmouth graduates, but they moved to the Midwest. They're a Division III now. Their nickname, this is a pretty creative one, they're the Little Giants. Kind of an oxymoron if you ask me. But they have affiliation with several smaller athletic organizations, but can't seem to find any notable alumni either. So if anyone in the comments maybe if they have a connection to either of those universities, let us know.
Well, if you're looking for some more interesting information on the state of Indiana, the Michigan game notes every week, Chad Shepard and Dave Abloff do a wonderful job writing those. Michigan will be seeking tonight its 50th win in the state of Indiana when it plays in this championship game. So 50th all time. If they are to win today, it'd be their 50th win in this state. Michigan has an impressive 37-12 record against Big Ten opponents from the Hoosier State, battling Indiana, who they're 20-3 against, and Purdue, who they're 17-9 against on each of their campuses. So in Bloomington, 20-3, and in West Lafayette, 17-9. A longtime rival, Notre Dame, Michigan's just under 500 against the Fighting Irish in South Bend. DePaul, they're 2-0 against, in that one game against Wabash, they're 1-0, and that's during the 142-year history of Michigan football.
Michigan has been absolutely dominant against the Indiana Hoosiers. They lost last year in the COVID year where Michigan really struggled. But prior to that, they had not lost against the Hoosiers since 1987. So that is over 30 years, 33 years. You know who was the quarterback in 1987 for Michigan?
I'm
none
not
other
that old,
than
man.
Jim Harbaugh, the coach.
Come on, Zach.
So that was the previous time Michigan lost to Indiana before. They have some pretty big wins, including in 2000, 58-0. Wow. 37-0 in 1997, where they went on to win the national championship. Michigan still in contention for this year's national title. It will be the first time since 1997 if they're able to make the playoffs and then win two more games.
And let's chat about that, too. Let's chat about the college football playoff and the implications that this game has, since we have about 8 minutes, 30 seconds to go until the second half of play with Zach Linfield, Adam Bressler to my left side. Today, it seems like the college football world was kind of shaken up. And it started with Sikkim Bears knocking off the Pokes. 4 plays inside the 5-yard line. Baylor ends up taking down Oklahoma State at the inch-yard line to beat them.
It's a game of
21-16.
inches.
Yeah, it was a dogfight earlier this year, and it went in Oklahoma State's favor. And Baylor took the coin on this one. So Big 12 champion, Baylor at 9. They need a lot to go right.
Yeah.
And it didn't in Cincinnati, where Cincinnati took care of business against Houston. And they also really needed Georgia to beat Alabama. So I don't think Baylor, unless something absolutely wild happens, will be into the playoffs.
So why don't you share this comment from a listener about DePaul University?
Catherine Calabro, I'm sorry if I butchered that, but Catherine Calabro went to DePaul University before coming to University of Michigan for her creative writing master's. That's from Simon from Australia. So for the Aussie, thank you for tuning in. I'm sure it's
a
different time right
Yeah.
now. We had a listener from Latvia earlier that commented. So WCBN fans from all over the world listening to the University of
international
Michigan.
audience.
Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, this is a pleasure to be up in the broadcast booth, especially in an NFL booth. My first time in an NFL broadcast booth actually calling a game, but this has been wonderful. WCBN's been awesome all season long. The Ohio State game last week broke a station record by tens of thousands of listeners last week.
Last week we got a lot of listeners, so we'd like to thank all everyone for choosing WCBN. We know there's a lot of options for watching college football, watching Michigan football, so we're really humbled that you choose to spend your Saturday with us. And speaking of a programming update, WCBN will cover any bowl game or potentially bowl games, plural, that Michigan qualifies for this year.
Fingers
I don't want
crossed,
to get ahead of myself, so stay tuned for more info about that. Michigan for the first bowl game, that will be over the FM airwaves as well. So those in the greater southeast Michigan area go to 88.3. But as always, we'll be on YouTube as well with the updated scoring bug. That's been a new addition this year. And
Very helpful to listeners.
I hope it is helpful. It is something new we're experimenting with. If you have any ideas on how to improve it, we'd love to hear. It's something new we're trying. Got to embrace the future, embrace the modern technology, get with the times.
Well, let's go back to our previous conversation about the college football playoff. Of course, we were talking about DePaul University and Simon providing that comment for us in the chat. But back to the college football playoff. Let's just assume now that was Georgia's first loss.
Yeah.
And they were the super giant of college football this year. Of course, Cincinnati was undefeated. They are now the only undefeated FBS team in college football. Alabama's in. They were in the top 4 this past week. They're in with the win over Georgia.
And not just a win. It was a very convincing
win.
game.
Yeah. And I don't know what the situation at Georgia's quarterback necessarily is. Nonetheless, Georgia and Alabama, the 2 SEC giants, let's just say they're in the playoff.
Yeah.
If Michigan were to go on and win this game, there's a lot of football left to be played, guys. So don't just assume Michigan's in the playoff.
It's
30
an
minutes to play.
11-point game. Yeah, it's anyone's.
Now, well, I will say this. Right now, the last meeting between Michigan and Iowa was 10-3. So there's already more points scored. So for you people out there with the over, you're still looking pretty slim. But nonetheless, let's just assume Georgia and Alabama are in now. That's pretty confirmed. Michigan with the win, it's confirmed that they would be in. Where do you go with 4? Is that still going to be Cincinnati, or is the conversation somehow come up that Baylor, with 3 top 15 wins, I think they jump Notre Dame. And then this comes down to the committee picking between 1 loss, 3 top 15 win Baylor, or Cincinnati. What are your thoughts? They've already said Notre Dame's coaching situation with Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman now, who will be a wonderful coach for the Fighting Irish. Yeah. That will come into effect when they select for the college football playoff.
At Notre Dame, even disregarding their coaching uncertainty or new coach situation, they just don't have very many convincing wins. Their biggest win was against Wisconsin in the neutral site in Soldier Field.
They don't have a win over a top 25 team.
Yeah, at the time it looked like a big win, but Wisconsin has fallen a little bit, especially after losing to Minnesota last week. So I see no situation where Notre Dame gets in. I could definitely see something where if Oklahoma State would have won, I think they would have leapfrogged Cincinnati and taken that 4th spot. But I think Cincinnati might have had enough to finally break that curse of the group of 5 teams and squeeze on in.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma State loss was a big help for them to kind of confirm that 4th spot. And we don't know what the mix-up's going to be. We don't know what the College Football Playoff Committee is thinking. But Adam Bressler, let's just say you're in the committee.
Yeah.
Let's go into the head of what someone from the committee would be thinking. How does the mix-up of 1 through 4 go?
Here's what I got. Pretty straightforward. Bama 1, Michigan 2, assuming they hang on. Georgia 3, Cincinnati 4. That's what I got.
Okay.
I just don't see a case where
you don't see a case where
Cincinnati.
Michigan is still in front of Alabama.
I thought for a moment they could maybe leapfrog when they had those 2 straight possessions, 5 plays in total for 2 touchdowns. I thought that might be a chance for Michigan to go up and potentially make a case for number 1. But ever since that 2nd touchdown, they just haven't done very much. We got one commenter saying Michigan should decline the CFP and go to the Rose Bowl. That is an interesting point.
Look who the comment is.
Technically, the CFP is an invitational, so Michigan would have the option to decline. And historically, and I believe de jure, Michigan would have the first rights to the Rose Bowl, and I'm sure the Rose Bowl committee would like the first option. They would love to select Michigan with its national fan base. Speaking of Michigan's national fan base, the 2 largest, most viewed games of the season, both Michigan games, both on Fox. But it was Michigan-Ohio State with over 16 million viewers, and then the Michigan State with 9 million. That's the draw Michigan gets in. I'm sure the CFP is going to be looking at that.
We're going to have Amer Bektas rejoin us. And, well, Amer, you're done crunching on the buffet that you had. Let's hear what you got.
So down here, you know, looking at the Iowa sideline, Spencer Petras is out there throwing the ball. So he seems to be healthy and whatnot. So Iowa's going to get the ball to start. There's a lot of momentum for the Hawkeyes.
Well, yeah, and I would say, too, Michigan did a wonderful job on their second-to-last offensive possession of flipping the field, because at some point Iowa just had the sledgehammer breaking into the brick wall. At some point it's going to fall through. and Iowa just couldn't get it to happen. They pinned Michigan inside their 10-yard line 3 or 4 different times in that second quarter, and Michigan could not move the ball outside of the 15. They finally got the ball to just about midfield, flipped the field position, but Iowa couldn't get anything going. Michigan had that last chance, and maybe this is how Iowa leads the whole country in interceptions, by getting the Hail Marys that land inside their lap at the 1-yard line on the last play of the half.
Yeah, and the last thing I got to say before we get started in the second quarter is, Harbaugh mentioned last week, this is a turning point in the program. There's more to come. This is a perfect opportunity for the Wolverines to take themselves from a good program to elite program. Let me send it back up to you guys to get the second half underway.
Michigan will be kicking off to begin the second half, and it's Jake Moody to kick it away to Charlie Jones. Stands at his own end zone. Michigan leads it 14-3 after halftime. Jake Moody, slow run up to the ball, boots it through, and this one may go through the uprights for the Wolverine defense to take the field at the 25-yard line. That's where the Hawkeyes will start. So Zach Linfield here alongside Adam Bressler for this third quarter. Michigan leads it by 11, 30 minutes away from their first college football playoff berth.
And Michigan, what do they need to do to stop this Iowa team? They came into the locker room. You mentioned how they're out of scripted plays. I think this is a real test for the versatility of Michigan's defense.
I think it's going to be getting some more pressure than they did in the first half on Spencer Petras. 1 sack. Petras under center in a power formation, brings his man in motion. Goodson is the deep back. Petras fakes a handoff, rolls out to the right side where there's a lot of room for his receiver. That's Johnson, and he dropped it. Pass is incomplete up at the 37-yard line. Vince Gray in coverage. Petras just missed him a couple of steps behind his receiver, Johnson.
And now we've seen success in the first half of those types of plays, the slants, especially with man coverage, but just unable to hang on. The pass was threaded. That's really where Petras thrives.
Another power formation for Iowa. It includes 2 tight ends to the left side. The deep back is Goodson, 2 receivers to the right. Now in motion comes Laporta. He's into the backfield. Petras fakes the handoff to Goodson. Pressure comes, throws across the middle. It's almost intercepted by DJ Turner, but the pass was incomplete, knocked down. It was intended for Johnson. Second consecutive play. It's 3rd down and 10 from the 25.
This will be a big statement for Michigan if they could get a 3-and-out to start this drive, especially if they could avoid any mistakes, either penalties or first downs given up.
Just underway here in the third quarter. Petras, the quarterback, was shaken up in the second quarter. The teeth of the Michigan fan section right in the ear of Iowa on the near side. Hawkeyes have the ball from the left hash at the 25-yard line. 3rd down and 10. 2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Split running backs for Petras. Pressure coming. Petras rolls out to the right side, and the pass is complete by Laporta, and he's real close to the first down marker. They'll give it to him. First down, Iowa at the 36.
That was awfully close, and now Iowa will keep this drive alive. Gutsy play, but it paid off for the Hawkeyes.
And it was an even gutsier play by Rod Moore, who tried to jump the route rather than staying stuck to the hip of Laporta. First down, Iowa, a gain of 11 on 3rd down where they needed 10. Petras under center. 2 tight ends to the right, 1 deep back is Goodson. 2 receivers left. Laporta comes in motion, now returns. Petras will hand off. Goodson with a little bit of space across the 40, chugs his legs to the 41. They'll cut the first down play in half. 2nd down and 5 up to the 41-yard line.
And this is Iowa's offense chipping off the dust, getting the gears running again. And they're finally moving, and Michigan needs to get a stop soon, because we saw the trap that Michigan got into where Iowa punted it, trapped Michigan deep in their territory, and Michigan couldn't really do much on offense.
Petras gets the snap, fakes the handoff, throws really quick, and the ball is incomplete. He wanted his tight end, Lachey. Jalen Harrell came real quick at Spencer Petras, who almost got flattened by Harrell, son of Detroit Lions great. It's 3rd down and 5.
Michigan's student section is loud, many of whom wearing yellow, and they're acting like they're back at home. Same tradition, same cheers.
Third down and 5 for the Hawkeyes. They split 2 receivers left, 1 running back. To the right of Petrus is Goodson. He gets the snap, drops the throw from the shotgun. Throws far side, and it is incomplete over the head of his intended receiver. That's Reganey. DJ Turner was in coverage. They wanted a wheel route, but Reganey stuck to the out, and Petrus just missed him a couple yards over the top of his head.
Yeah, we've seen that. I feel like a broken record, but that went almost above the whole Michigan bench. That's how far it was overthrown.
Torrey Taylor, the sophomore, 6'4", 230 pounds, has had a heck of a year. The Australian, he's punted quite a few times tonight. He has a season high of 9 punts. That was against Penn State. Taylor, a big end-over-end punt inside the 20-yard line again. Henning makes his way to the 5, to the 10, 15, cuts it up the field at the 18-yard line. That's where he's taken down. So Michigan will take over for their first drive of this half.
Michigan needs a statement right now. Not only is the entire nation watching, but the CFP committee. Don't want to get ahead of myself before the win, but Michigan could really get moving and show the committee that they deserve a number 2 or potentially even number 1 seed in the nation.
Michigan on their first drive of this half will scrimmage from the 18-yard line at the right hash. McNamara, the quarterback, splits 3 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Haskins is the back. 13 yards rushing today for number 25. In motion comes Schoonmaker to the left side of the formation. McNamara will hand off Haskins around the right end up to the 20-yard line, and that's where he'll be dragged down. A gain of 2.
Continuing the struggles for Haskins tonight. They seem to be really focusing on him, the Iowa defense. Haskins averaging 6.3, that's for carries. On rushing,
McNamara from the shotgun. They went quick to the line. Second down and 8. Kerner on the stop for the Hawkeyes on the last play. 3 receivers left, 1 to the right. Haskins still the back. McNamara will throw on 2nd and 8. Steps up in the pocket, throws across the middle, and it's caught by Cornelius Johnson on a diving attempt up to the 35. What a catch by number 6, and Michigan moves the chains.
First catch of the night for Johnson, and that was a Johnson-esque play. It seems like every time he does it, he gets his hands out and gets his jersey dirty.
McNamara from the shotgun, trying to go fast to avoid a review, almost gets him to jump off sides. 2 receivers to the right, including Schoonmaker, who's in the slot. Michigan from the 35 moves right to left. 2 receivers to the left side of the formation. Haskins still the back. Schoonmaker in motion. Here's a handoff up the middle. Haskins breaks it across the 35 to the 40, and he's down at the 42-yard line. Nice pickup for Hassan Haskins. It'll be 2nd down and 2 yards to go for the Wolverines.
On these short ones, we've seen a lot of the running back. In the backfield, they got Haskins.
Benson on the stop for the Hawkeyes on that last play. McNamara claps his hands, will now look to the sideline for an audible call. Josh Gaddis audioing down to his team on the sideline for 2nd down and 2. In motion comes Schoonmaker. Here's a handoff. Haskins runs into a defender at the 45-yard line. That's real close to the marker, but I think he may have it, Adam.
Yeah, I think so too, but let's see what the flag has to say. It might be tripping potentially, but they're talking about it.
It's behind the 45.
Holding. Defense, number 85.
Wow.
10-yard penalty added on to the end of the run. Results in a first down.
That's a sophomore from Orion, Illinois, Logan Lee, who's had a decent game today for Iowa. And that'll help out Michigan from 145 to the next.
Yeah, and they're finally getting moving too. Took maybe a flag, but they got a new set of downs.
McNamara really trying with that fake clap on this drive as Corum is the back. Michigan at the plus 45-yard line, works from the right hash. 5 down linemen, 3 split receivers left, 1 to the right. All comes in motion. Here's a handoff to Corum. He has a touchdown on his lone carry today. He gets past the 45 and down to the 43-yard line.
Michigan's really relying on the ground game besides that Johnson throw. It's all been on the ground. They've had success all season, and they're continuing to rely.
3 receivers left, 1 right for McNamara. Corum to his right hip. Kayvon Merriweather made the stop on the last play for the Hawkeyes. He's a Michigander from Belleville. High school teammates with Michigan's Andre Selden. McNamara on 2nd and 8. Hands off. Corum around the right end looking for a block. Gets to the 40. Corum up to about the 37-yard line, and the officials will mark him at the 37. So they'll need 2 on 3rd down. Just that explosiveness around the right end got him a couple extra.
Yeah, Haskins coming on in. I would be highly surprised if they do anything other than give it to him.
You think they run 2 different plays here? Maybe a handoff Haskins and then maybe another?
It's in that no-man's zone where you might see 4-down territory.
3 tight ends in the formation for Michigan. 2 to the left, 1 to the right. Here's a handoff. Haskins up the middle, and he's got the first down and a couple more. They needed 2. He got 5. The push from center, Andrew Vistardis, helped out the Wolverines. Looks like Ryan Hayes also on that main force.
Michigan's offensive line is able to come in clutch for those short down runs.
Jacobs on the stop. 3 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. We've seen this formation almost the whole way down the field for the Wolverines. Michigan's got the ball at the 32-yard line, still working from that right hash. The lone receiver to the right is Cornelius Johnson. Here's a handoff. Haskins tries the right side of the line again, maybe gets a yard. So Iowa's rush defense has been fantastic today. Van Valkenburg on the stop. Another Michigander, the senior from Zeeland, Michigan, wears the same number as Aiden Hutchinson, number 97, makes the tackle there. It'll be 2nd down and 9 for the Wolverines. And what are the odds? The ball's on the right hash. 2 receivers to each side for the Wolverines. McNamara with the fake clap again will now look over to the sideline. Long drive for the Wolverines. 8 plays, 51 yards so far. Only 1 pass for 15 yards to Johnson. They've got the ball at the 31-yard line. Iowa's fan section trying to make some noise. Pressure coming. McNamara will throw across the middle. He's got his receiver. Schoonmaker inside the 10-yard line. What a pitch and catch. And the Schoon chance down on the field for the senior tight end. 4-yard line is the destination for the Wolverines, and they are just about 12 feet from the end zone.
Schoonmaker's first catch of the day, making it a big one within the 5. So Michigan is moments away from punching it in. Curious to see whether it'll be on the ground or in the air. Have quite a few people out wide, knocking on wood for those listening at home.
Michigan has 1 tight end in the formation. And now they'll bring the 2nd tight end, Schoonmaker, in. Here's a handoff. Haskins to the right end. He'll find his way into the end zone. He had the red carpet. Touchdown, Michigan. Their advantage is now 20-3 over Iowa here in the Big Ten championship game.
No one should be surprised with that. Adding to his electric season for Haskins, and I'm sure many folks in the NFL, National Football League, I know this is an NFL stadium, will be watching that highlight tape. His draft stock is going through the roof.
He's now tied for first all-time at the University of Michigan in rushing touchdowns in one season with 19. He ties Ron Johnson, who had 19 back in 1968. Jake Moody's extra point is up, and it is pure. Michigan leads 21-3. 8:23 to go in the 3rd quarter here at WCBN FM Ann Arbor.
That was the drive Michigan needed to start this quarter. Got a jump start, jumper cables right to the offense. It took a flag, but it got the job done, and it came at the tight end's expense. So we're going to throw it over to Amer in a moment. He's going to give his thoughts on that last possession. What did Michigan do right?
How about that? You know, Jim Harbaugh, Josh Gaddis coming out of the locker room, getting the defense to get a fantastic stop, keeping Iowa off the scoreboard, and then they take it down the field. 10 plays, 82 yards, taking 5 minutes and 4 seconds off the clock, scoring on their opening possession of this drive. You know, you can't script it any better. You really cannot script it any better. Wolverines executing. And now, we mentioned it earlier in the first half, is you start talking, there's still a lot of football left, but you start talking about how does the committee want to shake this one out. The only way that I personally see Michigan jumping to that #1 seed is if they keep Iowa at 3 and they score about 49 points.
Yeah, it's tough because Bama against the previously undefeated Georgia Bulldogs, completely beat down on them. So it's going to be tough for Michigan against a weaker opponent to show that they should leap. But it is possible, especially with the way Michigan has come out of that locker room. Here's my question I have for you. Haskins had five touchdowns last week. He just got his first one of the night right now. Does he maybe get an invite to New York City?
Maybe if he gets another 5 touchdowns in this one, potentially. But I think the only guy from this Michigan team that is looking to get an invite is Aiden Hutchinson. He has 1 sack in this game. Now, if he can get another and maybe a strip fumble, then I don't see a reason that you don't get an invite to New York. But, you know, that's the last thing that they're worried about right now on this sideline.
Controversial opinion, but I'll say it for the airwaves. Hold me accountable, listeners. But if it weren't for that blown call against Michigan State, he would be the Heisman favorite right now, because he would have gotten a touchdown there. I think that would have been enough in the eyes. No quarterback really is having a standout
Bryce
season.
Young had a Heisman type of game today. I mean, going into a neutral site, beating the #1 team in the country, Bryce Young had his Heisman moment, and, you know, the Heisman
Trophy. That would have been the Heisman moment if he would have
the Heisman Trophy. My thing will be the Heisman Trophy has always been a quarterback thing, but the players are heading back out on the field. Zach, take it over, buddy.
Yeah, last thing I'll say about this, but Michigan, if they would have gotten that touchdown, not only would they have beaten their in-state rival, they would likely be undefeated. And who's the best player, who has the most sacks, including a touchdown in one of the pivotal games, has to be Aiden Hutchinson. I see no reason why he wouldn't be the favorite for Heisman under that situation. But it's a hypothetical, so I guess we can only speculate about it.
Jake Moody set to kick it away to Charlie Jones. Thank you, Amir and Adam, for taking over during the media. The kick is away, and it's through the end zone for a touchback. No return for one of the most dangerous return men in the country, and the Big Ten, Charlie Jones. That drive for Michigan, 10 plays, 82 yards, took 5 minutes off the clock, and you just got to love Fox, don't you? Another media timeout.
Another one? Wow. I feel like DJ Khaled just keep on having these. But Michigan's fans and the team itself is getting the fans really rallied up.
They were going to be loud on that first down for Iowa there. The defense was jumping up and down, trying to get the section, which is 25 yards away, on their feet. And I don't think they've left their feet for this whole football game.
Yeah. You see that at home in the big house. They stay on their feet the whole time, even in the freezing rain, the snow. And today's no exception, even though these seats are much nicer than those cold metal benches in the big house. People are standing up the whole time.
Yeah, this has got to be new for a lot of the Michigan faithful. Such a close game at a neutral site that's indoor.
Yeah.
The Wolverines haven't played indoors since 2018.
Yeah.
That was the Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl. And then before that, when they played Bama in the Cowboys Classic. Trying to think any other ones.
They played in the Peach Bowl a couple of times. They also had Florida in the Cowboys Classic.
Yes.
That was the first time they debuted the all-maize uniforms.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's kind of odd. We were talking about this on the drive on down, that the Big Ten, where not a single team plays indoors, has their championship game in a dome. I guess Indianapolis is centrally located, but like the Golden Gophers used to play indoors in the Metrodome, but then they built their own stadium that's outdoors. And since then, there's never been a regular season scheduled indoor game in the Big Ten, so it's a bit odd. But Indianapolis are the king of hosting events, directly halfway between the Big Ten East and Big Ten West, has the infrastructure for the hotels and the airport and the convention center, so makes sense why they keep on coming back here.
It's a beautiful city, too. We've had one heck of a time these past 24 hours or so, and we're hoping that the roads tonight are kind to us as we head back to Ann Arbor after this game.
I have a feeling a lot of cars will be headed up. It's 69 to 75 back to Ann Arbor.
Well, if you're a stats geek like me in the press box here, the most points that Iowa has allowed this season was 27 against Wisconsin, the 27-7 loss. Right now, Michigan has 21 points, and Iowa will be making a change at quarterback. This is Padilla. He has started the last 3 games for the Hawkeyes, and that's Minnesota, Illinois, and Nebraska. They won all 3, but he was benched last week for poor performance against the Cornhuskers. Iowa came back and won that game.
Yeah, and it was Petras who had to come back and save the team and save the season, too.
First down and 10 for the Hawkeyes from the 25. Padilla, hands off. Goodson to the left side of the line. He's stuffed away by the Michigan defense after a gain of 2. Guess who's right in the middle of everything? Aiden Hutchinson yet again. Second down and 8.
Hutchinson is showing why he has the potential to be #1 NFL draft pick. I'm knocking on wood for that one too, but assuming he could keep this up and have a good performance in any bowl game, that should be enough.
Padilla under center. 2 tight ends in the game. One goes in motion to the backfield. That's Laporta. There's a fake handoff to Goodson. Pressure coming on Padilla, and he throws it right into the ground, intended for Laporta. Michael Barrett was in hot pursuit of Padilla. It'll be 3rd down and 8 for the Hawkeyes.
Although Barrett was the first one there, guess who was right behind him? None other than Aiden
97.
Hutchinson. He's everywhere. You can't stop him.
Padilla last weekend was 6 of 14, 76 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He's a much smaller quarterback compared to Petras, who's 6'5". Padilla is 6'1", 197. He's a sophomore from Greenwood Village, Colorado. He's got a big play in front of him. 3rd down and 8. He gets the snap, drops the throw. Pressure coming. He looks for a screen to the right side. There's a lot of room for Goodson. He's got the first down, plenty more towards the near sideline, and he's out of bounds past the 40. The 43-yard line is the official mark. Michigan was fooled that he tried to go downfield. A little dump off to Goodson results in a big play for Iowa.
And great blocking, too, from Iowa's line. They stayed in on that play even after the ball was released and provided probably an extra 15 yards.
17 yards. Rod Moore pushed him out of bounds. 1 tight end in the set for Iowa. Under center is Padilla. 2 receivers split left, 1 to the right. Padilla turns to his right, hands off to Goodson, tries the outside in the right end, and he's pushed out of bounds by Brad Hawkins, who is now the Michigan leader in all-time games played. So the nickname for Brad Hawkins is the vet in Schembechler Hall.
Yeah, it is an interesting scenario, not only among the regular red shirts that players often are able to receive for injury, but everyone practically got the option of coming back due to COVID. Really changes the dynamic.
Gain of 3 on the play. 2nd down and 7. In motion goes Lachey to the left side of the formation for Iowa. Here's a reverse. It's a handoff to Jones around the left end, trying to cut up the field inside Michigan territory, and he's down to the 47-yard line. He'll be a yard shy of the first down marker. Josh Ross on the tackle for the Wolverines, the captain, playing in his final Big Ten game. Michael Barrett had a chance at Jones, but just missed him.
Yeah, we talk about players who might be leaving or probably be leaving. Josh Ross had a chance to declare. He came back, and this is why, to play in this game.
Padilla with the I formation behind him. In motion goes Laporta. It's a pitch to the right side. It's Williams to the right, and he is out of bounds. Excuse me, that's Goodson on the carry. They've been flip-flopping running backs all drive. First down, Iowa. He's inside the 40 to the 37-yard line.
Bold move
Hawkeyes
on
moving.
3rd and short to do a pitch play. High risk, high reward. They got the reward right there.
Jim Harbaugh not happy on the far sideline. Pushing him out of bounds was Vincent Gray. 10 yards on the carry for Tyler Goodson as he's now replaced. Gavin Williams is the back. Pottebaum is the fullback. Here's a handoff to Williams, who cuts it up the field after a gain of a few. We'll call it 4. Mozzie Smith on the stop for Michigan. An efficient drive so far for Iowa.
Yeah, and they seem to keep the chains moving even if it takes all 3 downs, or rather 3 of the 4 downs to do so. But they're milking this clock too. That might actually be a detriment to them as we're in this 3rd quarter, only 5 minutes left. Michigan's only up by 18, so still kind of close.
I formation again for Iowa. In motion comes Arlen Bruce. Fakes the handoff to Williams, throws into the flat for Bruce. He gets to the 35, dives forward to the 33. So that'll mean no gain on the play. Iowa will have it 3rd down and 6 from the same line of scrimmage. Pushed out of bounds by DJ Turner and Jalen Harrell.
Another 3rd down play where Michigan's defense is going to have to show that they might bend but not break. Question becomes, does Iowa take a 4th down here? It's kind of in that no man's zone on the 33-yard line. That would be a long field goal.
Iowa 4 of 13 on 3rd downs today. 3rd down and 6. Michigan faithful roaring at the far end. Padilla drops the throw. Pressure coming, throws across the middle. Got his receiver for a 1st down.
And once again, Iowa's moving the chains and keeping their hopes alive in this drive. Michigan's trying to get off the field, but just not enough on each play, just barely a 1st down.
The pass was complete to the running back Goodson. 8 yards, they needed 6. Nikai Hill-Green on the stop. Iowa's to the 25-yard line, nearing Michigan's red zone. The deep back in the single set is Goodson. A trips to the left. In motion comes one receiver, Bruce. The throw goes to him to the left side. He's got a lot of space inside the 20 to the 15, and he's pushed out of bounds right there by Vincent Gray. And it looks like enough for another Iowa 1st down.
And now Iowa is in the red zone for the 3rd time today. Only 3 points to come up. Michigan has kept them out of the end zone, and including a missed field goal attempt for a 32-yarder has taken some potential points away from the Hawkeyes.
10 yards on that last play to Arlen Bruce, the freshman from Olathe, Kansas. Padilla from the eye set, hands off. Goodson up the middle, he gains a couple. He's down to the 10-yard line. And Iowa's offensive line on this drive has just gotten one heck of a push. Mozzie Smith on the stop for Michigan. It's a gain of 6. I'll correct myself. It's a gain of 5 on the play. 2nd down and 5 for Iowa.
And this drive just keeps on moving.
2:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. Michigan leads 21-3 in the Big Ten Championship. College football playoff on the line for the Maize and Blue. Padilla under center. One tight end to the right. A fullback and a back are deep. Potabom now shifts to the right side of the formation. Goodson is the running back. He's deep. Hands off. Goodson. He'll be wrapped down by Mozzie Smith again. A gain of 1. It'll be 3rd down and 4. The Hawkeyes need the 5-yard line.
Once again, 3rd and medium for the Hawkeyes. They've had no trouble securing it on this drive, but Michigan's defense is ultra strong in the red zone. Both times where they have had to punt it earlier has come on similar plays where Michigan just kept them out of the red zone, kept them out from 1st down.
Padilla's been efficient through the air, 4 for 5 for 35 yards. He's in the shotgun on 3rd down and 4 from the 9-yard line. Goodson is the back to his left hip. In motion comes Laporta from right to left. Padilla gets the snap, rolls out to the left side, and brought down is Daxton Hill all over Sam Laporta. Nowhere near the 1st down. It'll be about 4th and 2. It was a quick rollout for Padilla, who looked for Laporta in the flat. Daxton Hill read that like a book. Iowa's offense stays on the field.
Bold move. Only a minute 30 left in this 3rd. So I think Iowa is recognizing they need not just a field goal, they need a touchdown here.
Michigan's defense can make a big-time stand. In the I formation, Padilla brings Bruce in motion. He gets the snap, rolls out to the right, looking back across the field. There's pressure coming. The pass is complete to Goodson, but he's well short. He fell down because Chris Hinton was in coverage.
3 trips to the red zone, 3 points as Michigan takes over on downs.
That'll bring us to a media timeout, and Michigan with a big-time defensive stand. They covered that last play very well because that was a crisscross route that was supposed to go to the tight end in the far left back end zone, and Michigan was all over it. Amir.
Man, there's so much energy down here on the Michigan sideline going back to that fourth down play right there, you had the whole entire Michigan bench just jumping around. You know, we've seen it since Wisconsin. They feed off the energy of the crowd. A huge fourth down stop right there. You saw Alex Padilla lead the Iowa Hawkeyes on a really solid drive right there. And it looks like Spencer Petras is done for the night. He is on the sideline wearing the red hat, meaning he is the backup quarterback tonight. So it looks like it's going to be Padilla the rest of the way tonight.
Like we mentioned, Alex Padilla, the sophomore from Greenwood Village, Colorado, under 50% on the season when it comes to completion rate. 1 rushing touchdown. He has 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He was, today coming in, 2 yards under 600 yards passing, but that last drive for him was very good, 6 for 7 for 29 yards. And you're like, Adam, Zach, 29 yards, 6 for 7. They didn't have that with Petras because he was looking down the field and completely overthrowing his receivers. But with Padilla in the game, that looked like a really solid drive.
Yeah, unable to get it done, but was able to move about 70 yards down the field and had more life than many of the drives in the second quarter. The question I have now is, that was a gutsy call to go for it on fourth down.
They had to, though.
They were up by 18. A field goal would have made it 15 well within 2 possessions. Now it is still a 3-possession game. I don't agree with that call.
Well, here's my concern if they wouldn't have gone for it. That last drive for Iowa took over 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And now there's only 1:10 left to go in the third quarter. You add that up, 16 minutes and 10 seconds left for a team that primarily likes to run the football against a team that primarily likes to run the football. For me, it just didn't add up, and the formula says go for it. You need 2 yards. Michigan's defense is good, but right here you need to get these points. You really need to start adding up the total because Michigan's defense right now is playing really stout.
Yeah, the defense is playing great. They are unable to get off the field, but they eventually kept them off the end zone like they have all game so far. And that'll bring Michigan's offense back on the field now. They'll have 85 yards to go to their own end zone, trying to follow that first drive of the second half.
The red hat official still on the hash on the near sideline. As the Michigan fight song, the victors playing, and the victors on the field right now lead it 21-3. McNamara from the shotgun has Blake Corum to his left. 2 receivers split out to each side. Michigan scrimmages from the 15-yard line. They need the 25 here on 1st down and 10. McNamara gets the snap, hands off to the left side. Corum cannot get away from Van Valkenburg. That's a big loss on the play.
He read Corum like a book. Corum, he has the speed, but he was unable to even get out of the pocket before he was taken down.
Less than a minute to go in the third quarter. It's a loss of 6. 2nd down and 16 for the Wolverines. Where have we seen this deja vu before, where Michigan is backed up in their own end? They eventually have to punt it away to Iowa, who gets great field position at just around the 50-yard line. Michigan needs a chunk play here on 2nd and 16. McNamara from the shotgun. He does get the snap, hands off to Haskins. Up the middle, gets to about the 11, and that's where he's taken down. So a gain of 1 or 2 on the play, and Michigan seems to be surrendering this drive right now.
Yeah.
Campbell on the stop.
That's tough, but I think they're gambling on just Iowa to make their own mistake and not be able to get a quick drive to the end zone.
McNamara from the shotgun. 1 receiver left, 1 tight end left, 2 receivers far to the right side. Haskins is the running back. Michigan goes quick to the line, and that'll be the end of the third quarter. So they tried to get him to jump off sides, and the Michigan fan section that's at our end of the field, they all hold up 4 fingers on their right hand to signal this is the fourth quarter. Michigan with 15 minutes to play, lead it 21-3, and they're 15 minutes from glory here in Indianapolis.
Michigan looking for their first ever Big Ten championship in this game. Like, they've won the Big Ten many times. The
42.
winningest program in college football, the winningest program in Big Ten history. But since the inception of the championship 10 years ago, they've never even appeared. Now, not only have they appeared, they're looking to win for the first time. with a lot of stakes on the line, particularly for the college football playoff.
Michigan and Iowa seem to have played a stalemate in the second quarter where they just kept punting the ball back and forth to each other. Iowa couldn't get in position to kick a field goal for their talented kicker. Now, of course, I lost his name for the time, Caleb Shudak. But with a 21-3 lead, the momentum flipped immediately after Shudak missed that field goal because Michigan then pulled out all the tricks, all the stops to get into the end zone, including Donovan Edwards throwing a 76-yard touchdown.
I'm curious at this point. Does Michigan continue to pull out the stops, use these trick plays, or should they save them for the playoffs at this point? Like, I know focus on the game at hand, but if you have a really special play, why burn it against Iowa when it might be what's needed to take down Georgia or Alabama?
Well, they'll need 15 yards on third down after the break in between quarters here. And Michigan right now, we've had a lot of talk throughout all week. What would the college football playoff scenario look like? What does the picture, what does Michigan have to look forward to? You need to finish the game. You need to play these 15 minutes. And like Aiden Hutchinson said all year, give them nothing and take from them everything. That's what Michigan needs to do for 15 minutes to win their first ever Big Ten title. And it'd be nice to see a switch up because Ohio State's won it the past 4 years. They have dominated here in Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah. And Ohio State, they've just been a powerhouse the past 10 years. A lot of people fault Jim Harbaugh for prior to last weekend and never beating Ohio State. Although some of those games he probably could have won, you can't really fault him for facing probably the best 10-year stretch that the Ohio State University has ever had in university history.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at some game comparisons. Michigan total yardage, 320 to Iowa's 237 yards. Passing, Michigan has just 13 more, 179 to Iowa's 166. But other than the Donovan Edwards 75-yard touchdown, Cade McNamara has 104. And it may be safe to say this has been his worst game this season. 13 of 20 for just over 100 yards and one pick.
Yeah, the pick I don't necessarily think should be his blame, but
agreed.
I do have to say the yardage isn't enough, but he's getting the job done.
To begin the fourth quarter, we're going to be switching color commentators. Adam Bressler, take a well-deserved break, man. 3 quarters of color work, 4 last week. Amer Bektas, he'll be with me the rest of the way. 15 minutes until, like I said, glory for Michigan in Indianapolis, trying to hold off the Iowa Hawkeyes here in Indy.
Yeah, big third down right here for the Wolverines, pinned deep in their own zone at their own 10-yard line. It's a third down. They're behind the sticks. You know, they got it. You know, this is one of those type of Jim Harbaugh type of plays where you want to see him take it down the field, take as much time off the clock, and run up the score. But let's see what we got.
Third down and 15. Michigan lines up at the 10. They try to get Iowa to jump off sides, and the Hawkeye defensive line playing some kind of twister. From the 10, McNamara claps his hands, he gets a snap, hands off to Haskins, past the 10-yard line, and he dives towards the 12. It's a gain of 2 yards on the play, and Michigan played for the punt there.
Yeah, playing for the punt, give as much space to Brad Robbins as you possibly can. I mean, Michigan has an 18-point lead. They've kept Iowa out of the end zone, knock on wood, but you know, Michigan's defense has done a fantastic job this whole entire game. You know, they got really lucky on that first opening possession by the Hawkeyes in the first quarter where they missed the field goal, and then you know, they played a solid game on defense.
Brad Robbins punting from his own end zone. Got to be careful. Iowa's a fantastic special teams unit. And they blocked a punt last week for a touchdown against Nebraska. Robbins will get this one away, but barely. It lands past the 50-yard line and will take a Michigan bounce inside the 30. How about the senior from Ohio, Brad Robbins, plants the football at the 23. Mike Sainer still all the way down there as the gunner to down it. And that's where the Hawkeyes will set up after the media timeout.
A really favorable bounce right there. Initially hitting the ground before the 40-yard line and then rolls 10-plus yards, pinning Iowa deeper in their own zone. And now Michigan's strong suit will be out there.
last week for Iowa against Nebraska. They scored 22 technically unanswered points, but 19 in the fourth quarter to knock off Nebraska and backup quarterback Logan Smothers. However, Iowa, they are a good second half football team. They're mainly outscored in the first quarter, but in the second quarter is where Iowa dominates. The fourth quarter is just about even on the season, but they are such a good second half team because they just know how to chew the clock. But playing from behind, this is pretty new for the Hawkeyes.
It is kind of new, but there were 3 games this season where the Hawkeyes trailed. Going back to Penn State, they trailed 17-3, and then they won that game 23-20. And you can look at the Illinois game; they found themselves trailing 10-0 and ending up winning that one 33-23. And then look at last weekend at Lincoln, Nebraska. They trailed 21-6, coming back to win 28-21. So this team is familiar in this position where they trail, they're able to come back and, get a victory. I mean, but this is the best team that they have faced all season long. And this defense, while they have, like we've always said it this whole season long, bend but don't break mentality, this defense has bended, but they have not broke. So
Bended.
You like
Amir.
that? You like that term?
Amir.
Bent. Is that better?
Much.
Sorry to my English teachers that have helped me through grade school and somehow into college.
You say somehow.
Somehow,
Well, Iowa's played 3 ranked teams on the season. They're undefeated against them. That was Indiana, who was ranked 17th at the time. They blew the Hoosiers out of the water 34-6. Iowa State in Ames, they won that game 27-17. And at the time, 4th-ranked Penn State with Taquan Roberson as the backup quarterback playing in place of Sean Clifford. They won that game by 3 in Iowa City.
Yeah, that game, it was a top 5 matchup when you go back to that
College
season.
Game Day was there.
College Game Day was there. It was an insane atmosphere, and I was able to pull it out. Now you can say, the injuries and whatnot, but this Hawkeye team, they're a good quality team, and once you get into the postseason, it's one game. It's a mentality. It's win and move on, or the season's over. So every team now in the conference title and whoever makes it to the CFP, it's that type of mentality. And Michigan's had this mentality since the loss against Michigan State. It's been, this is a playoff mode. We need to win to move on, and that's what they've been doing.
Iowa scrimmages from their own 23-yard line. Brad Robbins 1 yard away from his season and career high. 64 yards on the tally for the senior. Still waiting on the media timeout to conclude. Alex Padilla is the quarterback for Iowa, his second possession. On his first, he went 6 for 7 for 29 yards. Williams is the back to his right hip. He hands off Williams. He spins up the field. He's got a lot. Up to the 30-yard line, and he continues his legs up to about the 33, 34. Wow, he just did not go down. First down, Iowa.
Yeah, you can look at Williams right there, and that's what they do. This is college football. You got to lay a good, hard hit on whichever running back. I mean, the Iowa running backs, I think their lowest average between the two is like 4.1 or something.
4.1, that's Williams. He's in the backfield now. 6 down lineman for the Hawkeyes. Here's another handoff. Williams. He shoots past Josh Rawson. Nakai Hill-Green stands him up. He says, not this time. A gain of 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8 for the Hawkeyes.
So Iowa, if they want to get back into this game, they got to make it 3rd and manageable. But you're going up against Michigan's defense, who has been ferocious. They've only allowed a field goal tonight.
Under 3:15 to go in the Big Ten Championship. 3 receivers split to the right, 1 to the left. The back is Williams. Padilla looks to the left side. The pass is incomplete in the flat for Williams, and he's covered by outside linebacker or edge rusher David Ojabo, and that position has become the outside linebacker spot for the Wolverines, but they've tweaked the name. It's the Reapers for Michigan.
Mm-hmm. And going back to that play right there, so Aiden Hutchinson is starting on the left side, and Padilla is looking his other way. And he could feel Aiden Hutchinson coming, and he saw Aiden Hutchinson on the ground, just looked down and was like, oh, man, that was a close one.
He's much more mobile than Spencer Petras is. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Michigan shows blitz. Nakai Hill-Green and Mike Barrett are real close to the offensive line for Iowa. One running back is Williams. Padilla gets the snap, drops the throw, looks across the middle. It's incomplete, intended for the other running back, Goodson, and that'll bring up 4th down.
Yeah, Padilla is now 6 for 9 on passing attempts this whole game for less than 30 yards.
Torrey Taylor will have to come on and punt for Iowa. Deep to return for Michigan is A.J. Henning. He stands at his own 9-yard line, and I'm sure A.J. Henning is thinking, man, it'd be nice to not have to stand inside my own 20. Pressure comes, and it's blocked. Cornelius Johnson got a hand on it. The ball is on the ground, and Michigan will have it at the 36-yard line. On the recovery is Nakai Hill-Green, and how about that? The second blocked punt of the year for Cornelius Johnson.
Yes, sir. Michigan's defense coming up huge, and, looking up into this game, doing all our research, whatnot, talking about it, we talked about what could the difference be for Iowa as their special teams. How about Michigan right there getting the blocked punt to set up their team in plus territory now, and we're under 13 minutes left in the quarter.
So we see a young man on Fox that has a big poster that says Hutch for Heisman.
Hutchinson, with his 1 sack tonight on the stats, he has gotten to the quarterback on most of his rushes to the quarterback. He is making his presence heard. I mean, you had Padilla and then Petrus. It doesn't matter who's in there. This offensive line cannot – they don't have an answer for Hutchinson or Ojabo.
And if they did have an answer, it was in the first quarter on the first drive where the result of those were they were cutting Hutchinson and Ojabo, even Jalen Harrell on that first drive. Nick DeYoung and Jack Plum were just diving at the knees of the Michigan edge rushers, which is legal as long as you do it in a graceful way, I suppose is the best way to say it, before the Stripes can call them for a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, make it look like it's good and the refs won't notice it. And we've had a fairly clean game. Not too many penalties on tonight. Each team with 3 penalties for 35 yards. So both teams not really penalized.
Now, Iowa's only penalized for, on an average, 4 per game. That's good for 4th in the whole country. And Michigan with penalties is just under 5 a game, which is in the top 20. So both teams, like you said, relatively clean when it comes to the penalties. They keep the laundry off the field, which is obviously going to be key for Michigan moving forward, because as they move on, if they are to move on, you're going to see some really dangerous wide receivers that they may need to grab some jersey and hopefully not get caught.
And, I mean, last weekend was huge for the Wolverines, playing a clean game.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping it under their season average for penalties. And that's the big reason why they were able to defeat Ohio State, other things included. But playing a clean game of football, and that all starts in practice. Executing during practice, beginning with the coaches to the players, just playing a clean game, having the correct game plan, and it's showing. And you can go back to the beginning and middle of the season where the Wolverines struggled in the red zone. This coaching staff, Josh Gaddis, Harbaugh, they were all able to clean that up, and the Wolverines are now having success at the perfect time when you want to be playing the best football of the year.
Michigan's got the football in plus territory after the blocked punt. They scrimmaged from the 36, leading by 18 here in the Big Ten championship game. As we wait for the media timeout to conclude, the Michigan formation will include J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum. Cornelius Johnson split wide left. Eric Olesen up back to the right. 2 split receivers to the right side as well. Sainra, Still, and Wilson for the Wolverines. McCarthy hands off. And he keeps it around the right end. He got us on the fake again past the 30-yard line. He dives his way to the 28. How about J.J. McCarthy? He's real sly of hand when it comes to the read option. 8 yards on the play, 2nd and 2.
It's always, you've heard the term of when you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. I don't know what Harbaugh's done, but both these quarterbacks have really bought into that system and really support each other, and you love to see it as J.J. is going to stay in for this next play.
Cade McNamara trotted out to the huddle and then returned to the hip of Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. This is the first time we've seen the combination of McCarthy and Haskins in the game. McCarthy will fake the handoff to Haskins, who was drilled in the backfield. McCarthy cuts it up the field inside the 25 and down to the 23-yard line. So Hassan Haskins sacrificed himself on the read option. J.J. McCarthy pulls it from his tummy and brings it around the right end. First down, Michigan at the 23-yard line, moving from left to right into the Iowa section.
And that's what makes J.J. really special, is to do that RPO where he holds it to the last second and he sees that linebacker coming through the line, pulls it out, and is able to get Michigan a fresh set of downs.
The Wolverines will have the football from the 23-yard line. McNamara back in the game at quarterback. Haskins and All both in the backfield in the power pistol. One tight end in the formation, two receivers. McNamara will throw. Looking towards the left side in the end zone for Schoonmaker. He brought it in with one hand inside the 5.
Luke Schoonmaker schooning it up.
Wow.
Wow is correct. Just looking at the replay of that one-handed catch with his left hand, it just falls. It's like a hamburger helper hand.
McNamara hands off up the middle. Haskins hurdles into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan! And that's credit to the big tight end from Fairfield, Ohio, Luke Schoonmaker.
It's a team effort, and it all starts. You go back 2 plays before where J.J. McCarthy with the RPO. Haskins was hit in the backfield. He keeps it, gets the first down, and then Luke Schoonmaker with the amazing one-handed catch to set the Wolverines up. And then Hassan Haskins, cherry on top. Now Jake Moody, Big Ten Kicker of the Year out there to attempt the extra point.
And it goes straight through, 28-3, Michigan advantage. They are 11-16 away from a potential bid to the college football playoff for the first time in school history.
First time in school history. First Big Ten championship outright since 2004. You know, they can smell it. Now, you know, okay, Michigan's up by 25. Now it's like, okay, how many style points do the Wolverines need to have to kind of impress the committee, to leapfrog the SEC to get that #1 overall seed?
Yeah, that is a big question. You can't be exactly sure. Of course, we went into the head of College Football Playoff Committee future president Adam Bressler, who's to our left engineering our broadcast. And he mentioned that it'd have to be a really big win for Michigan to jump Alabama or to avoid the jumping of Alabama. Adam, you've got something very important you want to say.
I want to give a big shout out to WCBN photographer Bethany Furness. She's on the sidelines right now taking some really awesome photos. A couple of the highlights have been posted to WCBN's Twitter page, so take a look at those if you are interested. There's a couple of really great gems. Not saying she should win a Pulitzer, but she should win a Pulitzer.
The University of Michigan's Pulitzer. Well, why don't we do a quick recap of this football game and how we've gotten here. First quarter with 6:38 to go. Blake Corum exploded on a 67-yard rush. Down the sideline, he picked up a block from the freshman quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. Then, just a couple of short minutes later, Roman Wilson caught a 75-yard touchdown pass from the running back, Donovan Edwards. Iowa got on the board with a Caleb Shudak 22-yard field goal after he missed one on the Hawkeyes' first drive. Michigan in the third quarter with 8:23 to go. A Hassan Haskins 4-yard rush. And then Michigan just moments ago, Hassan Haskins 1-yard rush. So the Wolverines and Hassan Haskins, he is now the all-time leader in a single season with rushing touchdowns. He passes Ron Johnson in 1968 with 19. Haskins now has 20, so congratulations to Hassan Haskins.
And almost half of those coming in the last 3 games, the 3 biggest games of the year. He has 9 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games.
Wow.
You got Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, 5 of those coming against Ohio State. And then on the road at Maryland, Jim Harbaugh has this team playing their best football at the time when it's most crucial.
Jake Moody set to kick it away to Charlie Jones. And it will land on the eye of the Iowa Hawkeye in the end zone. Iowa will begin from the 25 Wolverines leading 28-3, 11:16 to go in the fourth quarter. Here in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship game, and we'll take a media timeout before we return to the action. Let's do a quick game statistician update, Amer. And would you have expected Michigan to garnish 359 yards against this Iowa defense?
No.
No.
Iowa's defense is ranked 14th in the country. That's no joke. So they just play good football. It's Hawkeye football. They're here for a reason. Now you can say, yeah, the Big Ten West and whatnot, it's a dumpster fire, blah, 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 blah. But this is a championship game. And Michigan to have 300-plus yards, it's fantastic. And this is why they are a college football playoff team. As tonight attendance is announced, 67,183. I'd say about 60% Wolverines, 40% Hawkeyes.
Yeah, the Wolverine faithful showed up, and they showed up in bunches today. And I was worried. We were walking around this morning. There was a lot of Iowa fans, but apparently a lot of Michiganders like to make the trip late because obviously it's a much shorter drive than it is from Iowa City to Indianapolis. But FanFest this morning was littered with Hawkeye fans, and then eventually the Wolverines showed up, whether or not they stayed for the basketball game and then shot quickly down to Indianapolis. So Wolverines hitting on all cylinders today. A nice win against San Diego State in the Chrysler Center. Yost Arena, the hockey team had revenge after last night's loss to Goldie. And now what is quite possibly another one of the biggest games in the history of the program.
It is the biggest game in Harbaugh's tenure, but one of the biggest in Michigan football.
That brings up the question, is it bigger than last week? Because they needed last week to get
They
here.
needed last week, so it's you're building on it. So it's like the question when
it's
they
the
ask,
biggest trend.
who like you'll always get asked is like who's your favorite brother, or who's your favorite friend or whatnot. You love them all. They all are great, and beating Ohio State, I was in the stands. That was the greatest atmosphere I have ever been in. Any sport, any game, anything. That was the greatest atmosphere. And now this one, Indy, Michigan leading 28-3. That's fantastic. And now, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves or whatnot, but this is where the national championship is going to be. So getting a tune-up game, but still a long way to go. You're most likely going to have to go through an SEC team.
Iowa from the 25-yard line. Padilla to throw into the flat, complete to Laporta on the far side of the field. Josh Ross brings them down at the 28, and the Hawkeyes will go with a quick tempo. Referees mark him up to the 29. It's a pickup of 4, 2nd and 6. Padilla from the shotgun. 2 receivers split wide to each side. He gets the snap, drops to throw. Plenty of time for Padilla. Steps up in the pocket, avoids pressure. Steps up again to the 25 and throws. It's complete to his receiver to the 30-yard line. It was to the running back Goodson. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5 for the Hawkeye offense from the 30.
If the Hawkeyes have any wishes of getting back in this game, time is not in their favor. And this is a big drive for them. They need points.
3 receivers split wide to the left. Padilla in the shotgun gets the snap. He's going to throw again. There's a flag down, and it's a false start.
Number 78, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
And you cannot do that, especially when you're down by 25. Unnecessary penalties to set your team back even further behind the chains. So
Going to bring up 3rd down and 10. That's the freshman left tackle, Mason Richmond. 6'6", almost 300 pounds. 3 receivers left for the Hawkeyes, 1 to the right on 3rd down and 10 from the 25. Padilla raises his right knee, calls for the snap, doesn't get it. He gets a snap now, dropping the throw, pressure coming. The pass is complete across the middle, and it's short of the 1st down. It was the running back Goodson out of the backfield, a pickup of 4. It'll bring up 4th and 6. And here's a big call for Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes. With 9:45 to go, I think they're going to punt.
This could be the surrender cobra out there waving the white flag as the Michigan defense gets off to the sidelines, getting that Michigan fan base up and energetic as they show Charles Woodson on the big screen.
Torrey Taylor to punt it away for Iowa. Looks the ball in, gets the snap. It's a spiraling punt, and it's a beautiful one. A.J. Henning is sent inside the 20. Fair catches at the 18. Really long punt flips the field. Michigan will have the football moving from left to right after the media timeout, leading it 28-3 with 9:19 to go here in this Big Ten championship game, live from Indianapolis on WCBN FM Ann Arbor.
So give credit where credit is due. Harbaugh in his 7th season is 9 minutes and 19 seconds away from his first 11-win season, most as a Michigan head coach in his tenure. The #2 ranking in the college football playoff, first career win against Ohio State, first appearance in the Big Ten title game, and first Big Ten championship outright since 2004, and first berth to the college football playoff. Shout out to Coach Harbaugh, and I've said this since day one when I went to the press conferences and whatnot. I didn't see Michigan getting this far, having this good of a season, but I did not expect Michigan to be a 4 or 5 win team. I was expecting something around 10 wins, a good bowl game, but I think they outperformed everybody's expectations.
Absolutely agreed. I know a lot of the press, a lot of the media were saying this is an 8-4, 7-5 team at best in Ann Arbor, and exceeding expectations is to take it lightly.
There's been a different mojo around this team since day one. Coach Harbaugh went out there this offseason getting a whole new coaching staff. And, you know, he listened to his brother. Like, you trust your brother for anything. And he goes out and hires Coach Mike McDonald to take over for Don Brown. And this defense has been clicking. You saw the rise of David Ojabo go from who to, oh man, top 10 draft pick in the 2021-22 draft. That's impressive. And then Mike Hart. How about Coach Hart coming back to the University of Michigan and helping these running backs? This running back room is going to be special
for years to come.
For years to come. I mean, Donovan Edwards, we've seen glimpses of what he can do. We've seen the greatness of Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum. This team is clicking.
One fumble all year between the running backs.
Yeah.
He's preached ball security every day in practice, different drills.
And we can't forget about Josh Gaddis. Josh Gaddis has had a fantastic season calling calls.
And he's up for Play Caller of the Year.
Yep.
So Michigan on this drive with 9:19 to go and a 25-point lead over Iowa has it first down and 10 from the 19-yard line. They move from left to right, away from the Michigan faithful. Two men in the backfield, Eric All to the right of McNamara, and the deep back is Haskins. Quiet day on the ground, albeit 2 touchdowns for number 25. Haskins gets the call, cuts it up the middle, and he's tackled at the line of scrimmage and piles his way for 1.
And how about Michigan's offensive line? You know, the average football fan does not notice this offensive line. And you got Hayes, Keegan, Vastardis, all those guys, Zinter, just a fantastic line. They set up those gaps for these running backs to run through and protect Cade McNamara, keep him off his back.
Michigan in the same formation. Eric All's the up back. One extra tight end in the game is Joel Honingford. The running back is Haskins. He gets the call again, and look at this. It's a flea flicker looking down the sideline for Eric All, and it's complete. Past the 50, past the 45, and Michigan pulls out the flea flicker again.
Eric All. Michigan going into their bag of tricks. Flea flicker to Eric All. Beats his defender, and that be it of probably the best defender out there for this Hawkeye defense.
Riley Moss.
Yeah. Gets the first down. Michigan now in Iowa territory. Iowa fans slowly making their ways to the exits. Michigan fans about to party like it's 2004.
38 yards on the pitch and catch from McNamara to All. Same recruiting class. Same thought process on that last play. Here's a handoff to Haskins, right side, cuts it up the field at the 40, 35, down to the 32-yard line. And that just may be the longest rush of the day for Hassan Haskins. The previous long was 8. It absolutely is. First down, Michigan at the 31. 11 yards on the carry.
Yeah, Haskins now with 16 carries for 52 yards, but 2 touchdowns.
Kerner and Campbell on the stop for the Hawkeyes. Michigan 3 plays, 50 yards on this drive. Of course, the big chunk came on the 38-yard flea flicker from McNamara to all. One running back in the game is Haskins. A tight end to the right side, Honingford. Another tight end, the blocking tight end, Trente Jones to the left. McNamara turns, hands off left side. He's to the 30, cuts it up the field to the 27-yard line. And he's wrangled down there.
Yeah, 2nd down and 6 coming up for the Wolverines. As Haskins heads to the sidelines, you're going to have Corum be the back. And we saw Corum in that first half break out for that 67-yard touchdown.
Seth Benson on that last tackle for Iowa. 2nd down and 6 for Michigan. A tightly knit formation. Johnson and Schoonmaker tight to the right. Anthony and Honingford tight to the left. Corum is the pistol back. Here's a reverse to Johnson around the left end at the 25, looking for a block, gets one at the 15, at the 10, and he's out of bounds. He was rocked, but it's a big pickup for number 6. He got a great block around left end. First down, Michigan.
Jack Kerner coming in there and just hitting Hassan Haskins out of bounds. Otherwise, Hassan Haskins is taking it to the house. Wolverines having so much fun out there.
17 yards for Johnson on the carry. Michigan at the 10-yard line. They'll mark it as first down and goal. McNamara calling the signals to his offensive line. They split 3 receivers wide to the right. 1 to the left is Dalen Baldwin. McNamara gets the snap, hands off up the middle. Corum shifty inside the 5-yard line. And I think that's exactly where they'll mark him. Pick up a 5, 2nd and goal from the 5.
This is one of those drives that we've become accustomed to with the Wolverines. You know, starting in their own zone and just taking it the distance.
From the 5-yard line, they'd love to get Blake Corum into the end zone for a 2nd time. McNamara gets a snap maybe a bit prematurely, looking towards the back of the end zone, and it's incomplete for Baldwin. Andrew Vastardis snapped that ball thinking that the Hawkeyes jumped off sides, and Cade McNamara will have a chat with the head official, Mike Cannon.
Yeah, and that's why Cade McNamara threw that to Baldwin in the corner, you know, thinking that there was going to be a flag coming, so that free play. But in the end, there is no flag. But how about Cade McNamara? 15
of 23 for
15
164.
of 23, 164, 1 interception. 1 interception, it wasn't a bad one.
And it really wasn't on him because Eric All typically brings that ball in. It's a power formation for the Wolverines, the loaded pistol. Handoff, fake handoff. McNamara will look towards the corner of the end zone for All. He brought it in with one hand. Touchdown, Michigan! Pouring it on the Hawkeyes here in Indianapolis.
What interception? Because Eric All just came back and gets that. That's the 2nd one-handed catch that he's had. Wow. Eric All coming up huge for the Wolverines. And we'll go back. I'll go back to Penn State. Eric All saved the season for the Wolverines, and now he gets a touchdown to really cap off this amazing night for the Wolverines.
Only the 2nd touchdown on the year for Eric All. And man, will it be nice to have him back for his senior year. Moody to attempt the extra point to make it 35-3. It's good.
Wolverines are just making a case to be number 1 in the CFP rankings. You know, we had chaos. We really did have chaos with Georgia losing to Alabama and then Oklahoma State losing to Baylor. Cincinnati took care of business. We'll see what the final rankings will be. You know, the past couple of years it's kind of been like, oh, what we expected, you know, the Oklahomas, the Clemsons, the Georgias, the Bamas, the Ohio States. But this year, we got chaos. We got special stuff as the Michigan faithful. They can feel it. They can feel it. It's time to jump around. It's time to pump it up. It's time to pump it up in Lucas Oil Stadium, Ann Arbor. We're not going to sleep tonight.
Michigan leads it 35-3 over the 13th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. That last drive, 8 plays, 81 yards, took 3 minutes and 55 seconds to go all that way. Eric All had the flea flicker catch, and then he had the touchdown catch of just 5 yards to dig Iowa a deeper hole. Moody's kick goes over the head of the return man, Charlie Jones, and Iowa will begin at the 25-yard line with Alex Padilla trotting out as the quarterback.
Now, the only thing we need is Aiden Hutchinson's Heisman moment. Strip sack or a pick six.
Listen to this place.
Let's go blue, let's pump it up.
Padilla from the I formation turns and hands off to the running back Williams up the middle, and he's brought down after a gain of 6 yards. A good pickup on the ground for the Hawkeyes. R.J. Moten came up from a safety position to make the stop. 2nd down and 4 for Iowa, who really doesn't have an intention of moving at a NASCAR pace for the rest of this one. 5 minutes to go. Michigan 35-3 over the Hawkeyes. I formation again for Kirk Ferentz's offense. Padilla from under center. Takes the handoff to the fullback. Padilla looks down the field, and here comes pressure. He completes the pass into the flat on the far side of the field to Williams. Jalen Harrell pushed him out of bounds, but big-time pressure came from Donovan Jeter.
This defensive line for the Wolverines, you know, we will talk about Hutchinson and Ojabo, but because they get so much attention, so you got an injury, you got a timeout on the field due to an injured Hawkeye player.
On that last play, no gain. It'll be 3rd down and 6 for Iowa after this short break. Will they attend to Connor Colby, the freshman from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Kirk Ferentz has done a fantastic job with this Iowa program. He is the longest tenured college football coach, 4th all-time in Big Ten in wins, 4-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. His last one was in 2015. And here's the Michigan champ.
Listen to that crowd. They're really excited. They traveled well. I will imagine I-69 and I-75 are going to be bumper to bumper on its way back to Ann Arbor tonight. But Harbaugh's on the sideline. I think it's finally setting in that he, for the first time as a coach at Michigan, has won the Big Ten. One last, I guess it's technically feasible for Iowa, but it's likely they won't even get any points whatsoever.
It'll be 3rd down and 4 for the Hawkeyes. Empty in the shotgun is Padilla. 3 receivers left, 2 to the right. The sophomore gets a snap, throws right side, and it is intercepted. Caden Colasar takes it away from Sam Laporta.
There you go. There you go. When everything is going your way, everything is going your way. Caden Colasar, eyes on the ball as it deflects off the tight end. Laporta for the Hawkeyes, and Colasar comes down with the ball. Michigan Wolverines, they can feel it as the defense goes to the sideline, starts celebrating, getting the crowd involved. Oh, baby, the Wolverines, baby.
Michigan will set up shop at the 36-yard line in plus territory from the right hash. The reserves are in. That includes J.J. McCarthy and Leon Franklin. Carter Selzer, the up-back, 5th-year senior without a catch in his career. McCarthy hands off Leon Franklin up the middle past the 35, and he drives his way to the 31. In on the stop for Iowa was Jack Kerner. 5 yards on the play. 2nd and 5 for the Wolverines as Donovan Edwards checks into the game. We'll try and get you numbers as we can for the Wolverines, as it's nice to see the 2nd and 3rd racks of the depth chart take the field for Michigan. Carson Barnhart left tackle, Chuck Villayanga left guard, Greg Crippen is the center, Reese Atterbury the right guard. J.J. McCarthy on a read option, takes it to the left end. He gets to the 25, and he stays on his feet for Michigan first down, out of bounds at the 24. Jeff Percy is the right tackle for Michigan. J.J. McCarthy, 7 yards to the Iowa 24. Kayvon Merriweather pushes him out of bounds. It's a 35-3 lead with under 3:15 to go in the ball game. Michigan just a short 180 seconds away from confetti falling here in Indianapolis. Power formation for the Wolverines. Honingford is the up back in the pistol. McCarthy fakes the handoff to Edwards, rolls to the left side and throws incomplete inside the 10-yard line. He wanted Selzer, so they will try and find any way to get the Sheriff the football, the nickname that the Wolverines have given Carter Selzer over the years for his magnificent mustache. 2nd down and 10 for Michigan. They've outscored Iowa in the second half 21-0 and 14-0 here in the 4th. Michigan splits 5 wide receivers. Donovan Edwards is in the near slot. 3 to the right, 2 to the left. McCarthy claps his hands, waiting for the snap. He gets it. He drops back at his 30, throws, and it's complete. Carter Selzer, and the sideline celebrates. First career reception for Carter Selzer. It's a pickup of 7. 3rd down and 3 for the Wolverines. Donovan Edwards will be the back for Michigan. Trente Jones takes off the number 80. He'll now wear number 53 to be a blocking tackle. He replaces Jeff Percy. 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left for McCarthy from the 18-yard line. They need about 3 on this 3rd down play. McCarthy gets a snap, rolls out to the right, shaking and baking a defender. He gets around him. McCarthy steps up at the 30, looking across the middle. JJ throws towards the end zone. It's incomplete, but there's a flag down. He was looking for Selzer in the end zone, and that'll be pass interference on the Hawkeyes.
J.J. McCarthy rolling out right on that one. He had the space to get into the end zone to potentially get that one, but let's see what the referees have to say on this one, even though we kind of know what to expect.
We'll wait to hear from Mike Cannon, the head official.
Pass interference, defense number 28. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
It's kind of odd when you look at it for the Wolverines up on the scoreboard. They're showing time of possession. The Hawkeyes have over 30 minutes TOP, Michigan 25, yet the score is lopsided, 35-3 in favor of Michigan.
Lopsided is the correct term.
First down and goal for the Wolverines at the 3. Edwards is McCarthy's running back. He hands off to Edwards up the middle, and he will not find his way into the end zone. He's down at the 1.
They're knocking on the doorstep, though.
Edwards has 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. He'll be looking for his 3rd, and it looks like Edwards will remain the running back. They have 2 receivers in the game, along with 2 tight ends. The tight ends are Hibner and Selzer. The receivers are Anthony and Baldwin, each split out to each side. McCarthy with 1:30 to go in the ball game, waiting for the snap from center Greg Crippen. Claps his hands, gets the snap, up and over goes Donovan Edwards into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan! The freshman from West Bloomfield caps off this big-time victory for the Wolverines here in Indianapolis.
How about that? Donovan Edwards diving into the end zone, extending Michigan's lead. Oh, baby.
The Wolverines have all but booked their ticket and their flight to either Arlington or Miami for the college football playoff. And how about that? You never thought we'd be talking about the CFP before this season, did you?
No, we did not. But Michigan Wolverines pouring it on tonight against Iowa.
Jake Moody's kick is up, and guess what? It's good. So the Big Ten Kicker of the Year does his job. And the Wolverines 42-3 over the Iowa Hawkeyes here in Indianapolis, and it's going to be a good night's sleep for those that wear maize and blue.
42-3. Did you expect that? I mean, we all did because, Michigan's just that good, but wow. Pump it up.
I think I know what song's going to be on repeat for the 4-hour drive home.
But here we go, Mr. Brightside.
Jake Moody will kick it away to Charlie Jones. No return for him. And the a cappella by the Michigan student section at the near end.
Is this the Big Ten of the South? Or the Big House of the South?
There you go. Take it away, maize and blue. And there's Mr. Brightside by the Killers, sung by the Michigan faithful. Here's a handoff, Gavin Williams left side for the Hawkeyes. He breaks across the 30, chugs his way to the 33, and he'll be tackled there. Michigan 115 away. There's multiple flags down as there's a small scrum on the field.
What was the favorite for the Gatorade that would be poured on the winning coach tonight?
That's a good question.
It was blue Gatorade. What else would it be for the Michigan Wolverines? Because we are the maize and blue.
Did they get him already?
Yeah. Look at there's replay. Hutchinson, Josh Ross.
That's got to feel so good.
With
and
Ronnie Bell hugging him.
From Ronnie Bell. Jim Harbaugh.
God, this feels amazing.
I'll tell you what, Amir, I've been a Michigan fan my whole life. We've been students. This is your senior year. I'm glad you're able to go out in such a positive note. And the penalty, I believe, was unsportsmanlike conduct on the Wolverines, and they moved the ball a long ways to the 48.
The Wolverines did it.
And it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Indeed. Wolverines will go to the college football playoff for the first time, and they'll try and vie for that #1 seed with one loss against Sparty. From the 48-yard line, Padilla turns hands off. Williams finds Rayshawn Benny, who makes the tackle. And talk about big old Sparty. Rayshawn Benny was committed to MSU before decommitting and taking his talents to Ann Arbor. 60 seconds away. Iowa has no intention of going fast. And they've now shown on the big board Jim Harbaugh getting drenched in the cool blue Gatorade on the far sideline. The Wolverines are about to celebrate in big-time fashion here in Indianapolis. Padilla fakes the handoff to Williams, looks down the far right sideline for his receiver. It's incomplete. Keyshawn Harris in coverage. Arlen Bruce was the intended receiver, well down the field at about the 15. They'll bring up 3rd down and 9 for the Hawkeyes. Padilla from the shotgun with Gavin Williams, the running back, to his left. It's worth noting that Tyler Goodson and DJ Turner were high school teammates at North Gwinnett High School in Sewanee, Georgia. Here's a handoff to Williams at the right side. There's Taylor Upshaw making what is more than likely the final tackle of the Big Ten season. And the Michigan Wolverines, for the first time in school history, have won the Big Ten championship game, and they have punched their ticket to the college football playoff.
Hail to the victors. Let's start pumping it up as Michigan wins 42-3 over the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Confetti rains down here in Indianapolis on the maize and blue. And you mentioned something from the fight song. Hail to the victors, the champions of the West. The Michigan Wolverines will move on and play in the college football playoff semifinal after a season of what many fans may call a disgrace to the program at 2-4. They've turned this thing around. At 12-1, they enjoy the confetti here at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Wolverines knock off the Iowa Hawkeyes 42-3 here in Indianapolis. Ann Arbor, it's coming home.
It's coming home where it belongs. Party like it's 2004, baby. But we're not done yet. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy this moment.
We take a look down to the field where the trophy ceremony will take place at the 50-yard line. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you listening, this is one time to enjoy it in Ann Arbor. And as a Michigan fan, my whole life, as a Michigan student, as, fingers crossed, a hopeful broadcaster in the future for the University of Michigan, this feels good. This feels really good. Last weekend felt really good, but how about this weekend? The Big Ten champions. My whole life, I grew up hearing 42 Big Ten championships. This is the 43rd, and the Michigan Wolverines have finally done it.
Wow. You're just lost for words as you see the confetti falling from Lucas Oil Stadium. The Michigan Wolverines did it, and in dominant fashion. They didn't just win an easy game. They did it in dominant fashion.
Against the 13th ranked team in the country.
And it wasn't an easy one. You know, you go back to that first half, Michigan, they struggled to close out the game. They were able to turn it around and keep Iowa out of the end zone. Pour it on. Hail to the victors. Pump it up all night long as they're bringing the trophy out.
I'll tell you what, Amir, that looks real nice down there. Well, let's go over it, guys. The story is 42-3. Michigan knocking off the 13th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. They outscore Iowa 28-0 in the second half. Cade McNamara, we talked about him at halftime, not having a great game. He finishes 16 of 24 for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Blake Corum on the ground, 5 carries, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown, coming on his first carry of 67 yards. Hassan Haskins, you know, you look at the stat book, you may not think he had the greatest day. 17 of 56 and 2 touchdowns for number 25, setting the all-time single-season record for touchdowns by a Michigan Wolverine. Through the air, Hassan had 3 catches. Donovan Edwards had 3 catches. But based off of receiver-wise, Roman Wilson, 2 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown on the pass from none other than Donovan Edwards, who officially had 2 touchdowns on the day. 1 passing, 1 rushing. Corum a touchdown, Hassan 2 touchdowns, Donovan Edwards 1 touchdown. For Iowa, Spencer Petras didn't have the greatest day. 9 of 22, 137, no touchdowns, no picks. Spencer Padilla, 10 of 15 for just 38 yards and 1 interception by Caden Colasar later in the game. On the ground, Gavin Williams had 12 carries, 56 yards. Tyler Goodson, 18 carries for 50 yards after a wonderful first drive. Sam Laporta through the air had 3 receptions in each half for 62 yards. Goodson with 6 catches for 28 yards. Michigan outgained the Hawkeyes 461 to 279. They outpassed them by 75 yards. They outrushed them by 107. Michigan went over 200 yards again, Amir, through the ground.
Harbaugh said it in one of his press conferences earlier this season. We'll do it through the air. We'll do it on the ground. It doesn't matter. We'll just pound it in the end zone. And he's kept his word. He really has.
Time of possession, Michigan was behind Iowa by 3.5 minutes. In the red zone, though, Iowa went 1 for 3. They failed on a 4th down, and they also missed a field goal on their first drive. Momentum seemed to flip almost immediately after that missed kick by Shudak.
Yeah, that was a big momentum shift right there. I mean, he barely missed, and he's never missed this season from that close of range, in between in around 30 yards. So he was 7 for 7 prior to that, but misses his first one.
Was 22 of 25 coming into the day with a long of 51. But nonetheless, Michigan turned the ball over 2 times. A Cade McNamara interception, which looked like it could be costly in the first half on a pass to Eric All. J.J. McCarthy threw a arm punt interception to end the first half. But Michigan played a wonderful defensive game. They kept the Hawkeyes out of the end zone, although they bent. They didn't bend it, they bent, and they didn't break yet again. That seemed to be the constant theme, though, for Michigan in all seriousness throughout the whole season.
It's a bend, don't break mentality. And now you are going to the college football playoff. You're playing against the best teams in the country. So it's going to be that bend, don't break mentality. You know, when they punch, you punch harder back. So it's how you get up that matters. And these Wolverines have shown their resilience to not get knocked down. This is a heavyweight fight. It goes the distance, and the Wolverines have shown they can hang around. And I believe that they have a chance against anybody in the college football playoff.
And I'll say this is incredible, and it might be a blessing from God or any other higher being that you may believe in. Michigan scores 42 points on a night where they and the rest of the country honor Tate Meyer, the young man, football player from Oxford High School after the tragic school shooting just a few short days ago, about 30 to an hour away from the University of Michigan. This one was for you, Tate Meyer, and the rest of the Oxford Wildcats that lost their lives and the tragedy that went down on that day in Oxford.
Yeah, the Big Ten trophy ceremony is coming up, so we will stay on the air until that. But for those listening from home, WCBN will be covering Big Ten Michigan's bowl game on December 31st. It is undetermined at the moment whether it'll be in Florida or whether it'll be in Texas. However, it'll be announced tomorrow afternoon, so stay tuned to that. WCBN will be sending a crew there regardless, broadcasting over the airwaves and on YouTube. So 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor and all of Southeast Michigan from Lansing to Detroit. Tune on in or go to YouTube.
Well, Adam, I've called the majority of the games this season with you. So I first have to say thank you to you because I'm not sure what your tentative plan is for the bowl game, but I'll more than likely be on the call since I'll already be down there with the football team. And I certainly will be looking forward to that trip, that game where Michigan will be playing in their first college football playoff. And look at the maize and blue. They are still here in bunches to celebrate with the Wolverines. And, you know, I'm kind of hoping they leave so we can get out of here easy back to Ann Arbor tonight.
Yeah, they're all taking the same road, taking I-69 to I-75. It's going to be a long night. I'm going to the Lions game tomorrow morning, so early morning. I got to see a win tonight. Maybe that luck will wash off on the Detroit Lions in Ford Field.
May as well mention that tomorrow the women's basketball team will be taking on Akron at 1 p.m. I'll be on the call with that with another Zach Linder. So, of course, I must give myself a shout-out for that one. Tune in to the women's basketball team. They only have one loss on the season.
Yeah, they lost on Thursday against Louisville in the Big Ten ACC tourney. But upcoming programming, we have a lot of fun stuff planned. As you mentioned, we got women's basketball tomorrow. Then we got a hockey from Columbus. Amir will be covering that next weekend. Should be a lot of fun. And then following that, men's basketball next Saturday, I'll be broadcasting from Chrysler. Michigan has their first Big Ten matchup. And then beyond that, couple of hockey games, couple of basketball games. But then we got the bowl game, whether it's the Orange Bowl or the Cotton Bowl. It's going to be a good one, and WCBN will be there.
Well, I'd say, Adam, that just about wraps us up from Indianapolis. The final score, the Michigan Wolverines of Ann Arbor, Michigan, 42, and the Iowa Hawkeyes, 3, in a statement win where I don't even think the players know what to do down on the turf here at Lucas Oil Stadium. It's been a wonderful time from Indianapolis. Lucas Oil Stadium was wonderful to us. I'd like to say, of course, thank you to all of our families, Amir, Adam, the guys, WCBN alumni that allowed us to stay with them last night. It was a wonderful time. 42-3, Michigan is the 2021 Big Ten champions. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan Wolverine faithful everywhere. Enjoy this one. The Wolverines are the champions. Good night and go blue. We did it, bro. We really
24,000